Oh, ayo! It's only
Ayo.
bloody time for a stream, isn't it? Could you fucking believe it?
Let's begin.
Let's begin. Press play now.
This is like right up top. Let me get this out. This is my favorite Batman film, but it probably has one of the worst titles. Like, obviously, I know it's quite descriptive, but it's also quite. It's almost like they were wedded to this idea of must be illiterate and talk about start. You know, like it must be like year one. So it's he begins. It's like,
I've always felt like that was a marketing thing, and they wanted to call it The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
By the way, I've seen some comments already. I'm in a vest. I'm not changing. I've been working all day, and I've been sat around in a vest. I'm just gonna wear my fucking wife beater like a cunt. So there you go. Yeah, I always felt like because then they could, and then it's like they had to call the next one The Dark Knight because they got their way because they made all of the money.
Well, this didn't. Weirdly enough, this didn't make all the money. I found out today that actually the Wedding Crashers beat it in that year's box office take. Yeah, it didn't make loads of money. It was just massively well received, I think. So because it didn't do as well as Superman Returns.
That seems unusual, doesn't it, in this day and age?
Next year.
Because if you don't make a gazillion pounds immediately, it's like, no, not only are we cancelling this series, but we're killing everyone involved, Kaiser Soze style, and they can never make another film. So that's kind of, I don't suppose refreshing is the right word because it was 16 years ago. But whatever the opposite of that is, I don't know.
Snack.
But yeah, best Batman film, I think, by quite a margin.
Yeah,
I really love the Adam West one for completely different reasons because it's really fun and silly, but it's not for the same reasons at all. I think it's just quite ahead of the curve, and it's done a lot of the silly kind of humour that the internet has long since embraced, well after the fact. And they were kind of, I just like it's a fun time. But we've talked about the Tim Burton ones, much to the chagrin of many people.
I mean, the Tim Burton one did a lot for. You know, it did a lot for the sort of superhero genre, I suppose, but it was still, in hindsight, not the best.
Yeah, like Batman vs Superman isn't really a Batman film, is it? I mean, it's more a kind of worse, but it's also not a Superman film. It's the kind of worst of both worlds in that respect.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even think of those. I mean, maybe it's a product of age and stage of life, but I don't really think of those films as being one or the other. Really, I don't think they're all very good. So yeah.
Well, there you go then. That's the end of the stream. There'll be no more stream. No, yeah, this was we got weirdly, it kind of felt like a field trip, but we got like free tickets to this through uni, but not in Southampton. It was like because this came out in the summer when term was over, and it was like, oh hey guys, so everyone could go see the new Batman film at the IMAX at Waterloo. Just sign up if you want to go on this kind of field trip, and you get a ticket. So we went to see it, I guess, opening weekend in the IMAX, which is really cool, really great. I was really jazzed about this film anyway, and kind of got to experience it in the best possible way, I suppose. It was in this huge screen and stuff, and it was with other nerds who were excited to be there. Nerds. Other people were excited to be there and stuff, and I saw it in the best. Maybe that contributes to my love for this movie, but I saw it in the best possible context. And at the time, do you remember that time when it seemed like there would never be another Batman film? It was just like, no, unfortunately, Batman and Robin was so poorly received that we will never make another one, and that's the end of Batman.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I remember though I'm feeling really hyped for this when it came out, like seeing all the stuff, like initially being kind of reviled by a lot of what I saw. I was like, that's the Batmobile, that's the Batsuit, that looks awful. And then obviously didn't. But this is the only film I have ever seen twice in the same day at the cinema.
Ooh, wow.
I went and saw it with my mate in the afternoon. I don't know why we went in the afternoon. Obviously didn't have much to do. I think we'd planned to go see it and then have some beers afterwards. We went and had a beer, and while we were having a beer, we were just like, that was the best thing ever. And then his friend, I think it was a girl, he was sort of trying to get in with, so to speak, or just get in.
Yeah.
And then out again, then in again, then
repeatedly out. Until orgasm.
Until he achieved climax.
He collected his ejaculation prophylactic, disposed of it correctly,
and climbed that window. So.
But anyway, Batman twice in the same day.
So he was going to go to see it with her, and I was like, Can I come?" Like a loser, like a sort of third wheel.
Oh, mate.
And so I totally like gate crashed there. I don't think he was gonna seal the deal in Batman, but we went anyway, and it was or whatever. I no, I think actually it was that we were like I want to go see that again, and he was like, yes, we'll but so anyway, and I drove really far to see it as well. I think I drove to Braintree, which is in Essex, to see it again, which is really weird. But it's just
say Aberdeen or something. Just yeah, Cardiff it was.
Torquay.
Batman Begins.
Batman is it? Right. I see. It's been. This one is now. You're booking for a Welsh showing. It's Welsh.
Just as they did. This was released dual language in England,
and it had Timothy Dalton signing.
Yes, that's right. Tom Jones was there selling ice creams in the interval, which was specially made for it. And Gio Compario from the Go Compare adverts. Carice from that band. Said something about Mulder and Scully. I don't know. It's been a long week. It's Thursday. I don't bloody know.
Were there or something or whatever. Aled Jones. That's just Welsh things. Some sheep.
They were selling leeks. You could eat a fresh leek. Isn't Christian Bale's Welsh, isn't he? So this is apt.
Technically, yeah, he is Welsh, isn't he? I think, yeah.
So this is apt. So those of you think, they just talk crap on Val Verde. Well,
if I did Wales, which I didn't.
Oh, Wales is fucking beautiful as well, man. This is the kind of this is the filling of the shit sandwich. And then we go back to the turd bread in a moment and say something disparaging.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. Mark never speaks to us again.
Yes. Yeah. No, Batman Wales. Anyway, so twice in a day. Only a kind of mad loser would do that, unless it's a new Judge Dredd film, in which case it's fine.
Okay, are you saying you may or may have not have done that?
I did.
And I saw it a third time as well. I did see this a third time in the cinema a week later or something.
I definitely saw Dark Knight twice. I think I would have done with this as well, because I think I would have seen it with my uni friends and then kind of run back to Cambridge, because it was someone just be like, fucking guys, the new Batman's amazing, and we would have gone back here. I don't remember particularly. I remember I can now safely say, without fear of repercussion, that when The Dark Knight came out, my current girlfriend was like, oh no, I can't go see it till next week, and I don't want to see it without you. So I had to sneakily go before.
I've done that
next week. Go, oh no, I can't believe that happened a bunch of times.
I wonder if we ever find out how he got his scars.
Very loudly in that exact
yeah. Ooh, oh.
That is a surprise to me, and I'm familiar with Batman lore. I particularly enjoy.
Oh look, it's the man from the Go Compare app.
I was thinking about this earlier. These films have this. It was a fucking good old time for British actors, because if Gio Compare's in it, I wouldn't be surprised, because people from ads, people from sitcoms, and in some quite big roles as well. Because your man from The Far Show plays Commissioner Loeb. He went to the Purse, which is called in Cambridge.
Oh, did he? Yeah, okay.
I can't remember his fucking name now, though.
No, not as good as, but
I'm not going to get involved in this inter-school ruckusing.
We had girls. Just saying.
I've got a girlfriend. I've got a wife. I sleep in my school with my wife. Wait, that sounds weird. Yes. So he's from Cambridge. So there you go. But there's a bunch. I think particularly the first two, there's a weird amount of people that you can point to from all kinds of stuff.
Well, a lot was shot here. And in fact, I think actually this and the third one were the ones mainly shot here. I think the second one was not as much shot in the UK. I think a lot more of it was done in the States. But a lot of Begins was filmed here, and they used a lot of local.
They used,
local.
I think, because Britain, Hong Kong, and the States. I think it was Chicago. It's like Gotham is a fusion, isn't it, of like Croydon, Chicago, and like Kowloon Bay or something. To create the different sort of areas of
the
Gotham.
big wide, because there's a big sort of aerial wide of Bruce when he's coming back into Gotham, and they digitally stitched a lot of that sort of stuff together. But in terms of the sort of street level stuff, there is, and they built the Narrows, of course. They built that at Carlington which is not far from here, in the big Zeppelin hangar, which they've used for the new Batman film as well.
Did they do it?
And they're filming that down the road from me at Burley House as well. As people love to point out to me, whenever something's happening in local, they're like, oh, "You should get that." It's like,
I hadn't thought of that. Thanks.
I don't think they cast. I don't think it's not like when they move locations, they just fire everyone and recast locally.
They come
is
door
it?
to door. They go,
yeah.
Excuse me, pal. Do you want to be the new Batman?
Yeah.
We're filming in your postcode. We're filming in your postcode. You could be Batman. The new Batman.
Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, I mean, again, I suppose we have kind of with the new Batman. Well, I mean, it's Robert Pattinson, isn't it? So I guess that's one British man. I don't know if the rest.
Quite a bit in Glasgow, so I imagine I would expect there are a few knocking about. We might have a similar effect of people from Birds
the main
in the background and stuff.
Or Tool Station have it.
Yes.
The main bad guy is in that it's I suppose Colin Farrell, but then John Turturro's in it, so it's a mix-up. Zoe Kravitz.
Yeah, so you got British and Irish in big roles, and then.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know what to think of that, to be honest, because that's sort of going like, oh yeah, we're doing the realistic street level Batman. It's like you did that 15 years ago.
Things just seem to cycle quite quickly. I mean, it does seem like. I mean, I'm hopeful for it because it does seem like, and they don't seem to recognise this. There must be people paid lots of money to completely miss the fact that when they pare it back, when they give it to someone with an actual vision, and an eye for character and the storytelling. And don't give them £50 trillion, you actually end up with a good film. I mean, this was a big budget movie. I mean, this was over something middle, but it wasn't 300 like friggin' Justice League.
This was quite an interesting approach at the time as well. I think that's the other thing, because the only other kind of players at the time really were the Spider-Man movies, and they were doing kind of crazy Silver Age-ish kind of wackiness. Through the Sam Raimi lens.
Yeah, and X-Men, I think, as well.
Of
really
course,
kind of kicked
yeah, of course. And this went out of its way to be sort of like a, more like a crime film. And then they, hired a person. At this point in time, Christopher Nolan. At that point in time, you kind of knew him if you were a film nerd for Memento and the remake of Insomnia, which are both sort of quite dark crime films. And it's kind of like, oh, well. But then because I'd gone through that phase, I'd read Batman Year One and The Long Halloween and the things this were based on. And because I was 20 or 21 or whatever, I was very, very, very serious grown-up boy who knew about serious grown-up things, and he knew that Batman dressing up in a silly costume's dumb and stupid, and what's cool is that you have to know that he only has a cape because it's made out of memory cloth and his ears have got microphones in, because to not do that, you know what I mean? And which is, it's all valid, and I really like all that, but at the time it was kind of like, yeah, this is sensible for grown-ups, and Richard of today would cuff that kid around the ear and go it's about a man dressed as a bat. Come on.
Well, it does seem that, I mean, I will say this, I do think it created, from this point onwards, it was like no superhero film could not do that. It was like they all had to have be considered dark and realistic and gritty or whatever, and it's like this it sort of misses the point, because this isn't, in a lot of ways, it has that there is a reason behind everything, yes, and there is a reality to everything, but it's not, a lot of people sort of said, oh, what if Batman were in the real world? I think I even probably said that at the time, and I'm like, actually, that's not what this is. It's not a thesis on what if, and that's what I think Man of Steel got wrong, is I think it thought that's what you had to do, that's what Batman Begins did, but it isn't. It created a world. It was just a world that had to be a reason behind stuff. It couldn't just simply be, oh, he saw a bat once, right? That's it.
It sort of does the due diligence and all these things, because it's not the real world. It's a hyper noir super fiction world still. But it's not ice skates and back credit cards, it's the other way. And it's like, oh, it's realistic, and it's like, sure, it is in a way, but it also isn't. It's about kind of massive drugs, and so it's grounded. I think that's its thing, isn't it? It's great. It's a very grounded version of the Batman thing, because everything, this Batman's not going to meet Gorilla Grodd or Detective Chimp or have a spaceship or you know.
Well, I see that this is again the trick I think they missed, and yes, I understand that it's a case of contracts and stuff like that. But I think the real Batman versus Superman film should have been this Batman meets Henry Cavill's Superman. I think had they kept it in this world somehow, and all right, it would have required a lot of, you know, legal gymnastics to get Christian Bale back involved and all that sort of stuff. But I mean, had they been able to do that, I do think this Batman could exist in the world of Superman. It's just you have to make it work. But I think they could have. It's just, you know,
I view these as sort of a capsule, and the fact that they never broke the seal of supernatural or alien, I think works for it.
It does, but then you get to the third one, and it's like,
that's precisely what I was going to say as well. Yeah, you might as well fucking. By the time the third one comes around, none of it really matters anymore. And the third one has that weird, like, I think what kind of works for these and this version of Batman is like, they're mostly Gotham's concerns. There's kind of the sketchy stuff in the second one where he performs an extraordinary rendition on someone, but like. The third one, it's all about like the president says this, and and it feels like a global event, and it just doesn't really feel in keeping with it. I know you have to up the ante each time, but it doesn't really feel in keeping with what we've seen with these.
I don't think you do, and I think that's what disappointed me about The Dark Knight was the fact that when I went in thinking I'm going to see all those things through the lens of Batman, you know, and for me, you know, I know Chris Nolan has this thing about like showing certain films before they start shooting, and that's really clear with like Batman Begins. It's like. Yeah, there's a lot of Blade Runner in there. There's, you know, visually, and you know, it's like him climbing up rooftops in the rain, and you know, there's all that stuff which looks incredible. And I was like, I want more. This is Batman. This is what I want. I want a man literally like clawing his way up a building, and like, you know, and all that sort of stuff. And then you get to the Dark Knight, and there's just none of that. It's all very clean and glossy and stark. And I know that's deliberate. I'm not saying it was a mistake or anything, but I just sort of, and I do love that film as well. But I was disappointed that it doesn't. This feels like such a really considered, intelligent, like, but also, you know, down and dirty version of Batman that just doesn't carry over into that. I do still think this has a gloss and a sheen to it, though, that I do think you could take away. I do think you could do them much more. You could make this, and not in a Zack Snyder way, but in a kind of like, you could make it way more like he goes home every night covered in blood and like bruises. You know, he could be way more. But I know he gets set on fire and shit, but he always seems to come back the next day looking like pristine Christian Bale. Whereas like I know he has bruises and stuff, but it's like I want him to be like beat to shit. He should have like a boxer's face by the time he's like 40.
I feel
or something.
Like that's what they're going for with this next one. It appears whether that holds out for any sequels, I don't know, but it seems like because it looked quite nasty. And you're right, he should have like a cauliflower ear and stuff. Well, it's under a cowl, but you know, like a battered face and sort of missing teeth and whatever. I mean, they go into that's one of the things I hate about Dark Knight Rises. It's kind of like, yeah, you can barely walk now because of all the Batmaning you did, and then it's like, here's a brace, that's fine now. So why do it? If you're just going to wave it away at the end of the first act, then why fucking even do it? Like,
well, there's a lot of hand waving in that film. I think it's just the whole like he has his back's broken, but then it's like you have a vertebra protruding from your back. Smack, like there you go. So good now. See you later. And it's like,
sorry,
we have
super chats. The Wing exchange gives £5. Thank you very much. It just says and merely says tangerine. Tangerine. Do you want to read James Morgan's one?
It says, hello lads, hope you're both good. Do either of you have any expectations for the upcoming Batman film? We were just talking about that, actually.
We touched on it a wee bit. I'm
seen the trailer.
Batman snowblind, I am. I just feel like, I mean, like, I hope it's good. I like a good Batman as much as anybody, but how many Batmans have we seen recently? You know, and there's the animated ones and there's TV stuff. And
I'm hopeful for it in as much as it's obviously doing kind of what this film did, which is sort of coming off something that's been badly received. And apparently bringing it back down to earth and all that sort of stuff. My fear is, though, that if it leans too much into that and has its eye too much on this film, it's going to get a little wayward. And I think just doing that aesthetically isn't enough. Like, there has to be, if it's just like, it looks cool and damn, you know, and it's like his car is just a car with a freaking rocket strapped to the back of it and stuff. It's like, well, that's fine. But, you know, it's like, I also don't want to spend another film sat there going like, I need gauntlets to make my bum look big, you know, and because as well, like, this film is really lazy and it just basically introduces Lucius Fox, and it's like, do you have anything for this? And he's like, Mr. Wayne, I think I have just the thing, and it's just like, here it is in a drawer, and it's like, okay, but that's fine, because it's got that you get that free pass because you go, this is all just discarded R&D military shit. So it's fine, it works for this. But what I don't want, I mean, it seems like they're kind of going for more of the kind of he just knocks it together in his cave thing with the new one, which would make sense because it is just then a car with stuff stuck on it, or a bike with stuff stuck on it, and that's fine. So I don't know. I mean, I'm interested.
A nutter as well. It's because it's like the
beats the shit.
Yeah, that guy, and it's like he's like wailing on him on the floor, and it's like, oh, justice, I guess. But then fucking Ben Affleck's almost like opening dudes' heads with crates and stuff, wasn't he? So that's
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a particular problem. I do think like Batman isn't. He won't kill you, but he will. Fuck a motherfucker up, right? Like it's not.
Yeah.
That's one of those situations where I just think it's like he's supposed to strike fear into that gang of people, and it's just like they're like, "What are you?" And it's just like, bang, 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 like just takes that guy down really hard.
It's punched him on the floor though that sketches me out. It's like okay, like because like the Arkham version of Batman from the video games, you watch him like he's like definitely breaking people's arms and legs and backs and stuff all over the place. But like he doesn't like let them fall to the floor and goes like aha, dish, 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 dish. So, it's a moment from a trailer, so the context is king, isn't it? I suppose
it is, and I also think that like that can work. I think you can do that. It's the whole like gun turrets on the Batmobile, which this film has, but also like blowing people up and shit. There are instances in this film where I'm like, and in the second one where it's like you're kind of. I think you're playing fast and loose with your own rules here because it's like I don't kill people. It's like I'm pretty sure in that police chase, quite a few cops were killed.
Well, it's a thing of kind of dwelling on it. I think that's the other thing as well because like the film can justify it, but it's like when like the director's cut of Batman vs Superman, like they've added blood, so it's like if you weren't sure, he just caved that guy's fucking head in and stuff like that. And then, whereas the Tim Burton ones seem to not really give a shit what you think. It's just like, he blows them up. And says a glib, like he blows all those guys up with those bombs from the car. Or like when he shoves that dude down the manhole with dynamite in the second one.
It's a more sort of benign version of someone who says something racist at a dinner party then doesn't get why. Like goes, you know what I mean? I mean, it's not as bad as that, obviously, but it's kind of...
That is a wonderful analogy, and I'm here for it. I'm absolutely here for it.
We've got some... Sorry, I just want to say we have some PayPal stuff, so I just want to read that out. Binge Movie sends £2.92.
Binge Movies.
Thank you.
I did their show recently, guys. If you search Binge Movies, their Rocky episode, I'm on that. I think I retweeted it, but I don't go on Twitter anymore. But their show's great, and it was a fun one to do. And you should get Duncan on, like I said.
Yeah,
Cold
sure. That's right. Andrew Capitz sends us £10, as always. Thank you very much. My dad sends us £10 and says, ignore my earlier request. Not sure what that means. Okay. We'll figure that out offline. Annalise Moskland sends us a note and sends us £5. Thank you, Annalise. And says, evening, guys. Got my jar of Nutella and ready for a break from the never-ending 20-page essay. Thanks again for the excuse. I don't know that we endorse eating Nutella from the jar, do we?
I do.
Maybe we do.
Yeah, I do. Okay. I'm watching what I eat at the moment, but it's definitely a thing I've done.
And Nutella, I remember being as a rotund child, being quite the drug of choice. But it was, usually on toast, but thickly spread. And it's like right now I just think I couldn't eat. It's obviously delicious, but I just can't. I don't know.
Right now I've been on a health kick for a while, and I just look at the things that I have loved, and I sort of feel a bit grim. And I think Nutella is making me feel slightly nauseous. What we talked about the other day, we were talking about like blue drinks, and it just made my teeth hurt thinking about it. I was just like, whoa. But Annalise, you go nuts. What I used to do is get the non-nut chocolate spread, and I used to get, for some reason when I was a teenager, I just really loved tinned rice pudding. And I used to get...
Yeah, me too.
Oh, there you go, right. I get a tin of rice pudding, and I put a massive hoof of chocolate spread in the middle of it and microwave it. Like just inviting diabetes into my life for some reason. But shall we crack on with Batman Begins?
Let's begin.
Finnegan. Begin again. I am actually fucking roasting as well. Jesus Christ, it's hot in here. I'm taking the window. Yeah, I'm not merely trying to justify that. I nearly put a hoodie on because I feel like a bit of a dick because people taking the mick out of me for wearing a vest. But now I'm like, I'm really hot, so I don't care. So I don't want to,
You must have like some weird internal fusion thing going. It's always hot. Everyone, like, his house is like an icebox, and it's like he's there. Like, I mean, and I consider myself to be someone who's usually quite internally hot. Like, my wife finds it in very frustrating that I always have to have windows open and stuff. But you, my friend, are not a lizard, whatever the other.
The opposite, yeah, the opposite is everyone. But yeah, I get remarked upon a lot. My friends of the day when I saw him were just kind of like, "Why aren't you wearing a coat?" And I was wearing like just a tracksuit top. I was like, "I am wearing a coat," and they're like, "You're not wearing a fucking coat. We're wearing coats." And I realised they were all wearing like sort of, Parker type coats. And my idea of a coat is just like this sort of like tracksuit top that I have, or a hoodie. I call it a coat.
Second layer.
I mean, it's not like I'm sat next to halogens. These are like LED lights. The point is they don't get particularly hot. But I'm fucking roasting. Anyway, right. Batman, will he begin?
He will begin after I put in the code that I wish I could stop. Okay. Is it okay? I have to catch this because it will try and start itself. Right. There we go. Very good. Right. It is. I am set. Do you want to count in, or do you?
I'll let you, because I think if you wanted to, there's some kind of Batman-related voice you could do, or you could just do your own voice.
Well, I could do. There's, I guess, Batman's voice, which is, or Michael K. Let's count in as Michael K. Right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Play, motherfucker. Tangerine. That's right. I haven't done Michael Caine in a long time. But, I ought to tell you that I saw Tenet last night, and it was fucking weird. Not last night. Well, whenever it was. Last weekend. And it was just... We haven't even talked about that, but obviously that's the most recent Chris Nolan film. And I found it, it was very own fart huffing.
And mumbling?
In its sort of... Yeah, again, lots of dialogue delivered by people with full-on face masks, and mixed very low in the score. But what are you gonna do? It was good. It was good. I mean, it's one of those things where you go, okay, it's good because it sort of it literally has a palindromic structure. It's very clever. It's like it's so much shit to look for in there, and it's got loads of everyone's name means something, and it's like, oh, well, actually, it was the boy who's the blah blah. I get it all, but it was very. I'm spending it's like you're taking an exam rather than watching a movie, and that I find
that's
just
not fun, is it? That's
tedious. Yeah, exactly. And it's like 2.5 hours or whatever of an exam. So, but anyway, Batman Begins. I do love this opening because I think it's very clever in that it even then they were going, they don't need to see the origin again.
Yes. Yeah.
So they tell it in a very clever way that gives you all the kind of cliff notes without you needing to
kind of pepper it throughout. Yeah, it's something that I'm glad the Spider-Man films eventually arrived at. We don't need to see the origin again. It's Spider.
Yeah,
it took them the Sam Raimi ones. I think it's entirely justified, but I think the Mark Webb ones less so. And then for the kind of MCU combined ones, they were like, yeah, he's just Spider-Man already, and in fact he's introduced in not even a Spider-Man film, because we fucking know, like, how many times you just see Bruce Wayne's parents getting fucking shot. Are you doing this? But also it kind of, because this one actually has Joe Chill in it as well, and they make a point of having a character.
Well, they do something that I think the stuff they show you that is a repeat is done with a very, they have a unique take on it. That it's done deliberately because they're doing it a different way, and I think, and actually in this, doing it the right way. I love this guy. Like,
oh yeah.
You are in hell, little man.
I am the devil.
The devil. You're not the devil. You practice.
Oh, this film is. Sorry, I just forgot how good this movie is.
It's so good.
I've been meaning to rewatch it for ages, and I haven't got round to it. It's one of these things that sits on the shelf, and I always want to fucking watch it because it's great.
It's just I know it too well in a way, but it's like I remember, like, this is just the best, like. Because it's so character driven, I mean, like, so much. And again, all that verisimilitude stuff that we talked about, like how he got his cape and all that. I think people mistake that for being sort of clever exposition, when in actual fact, it's character driven. It's actually character driven stuff. It's about showing what Bruce Wayne needs, why he needs it, what he's doing it. But, we always understand why he's doing what he's doing. And you still get that bit of intrigue from him, and it's certainly like more prevalent in the second two films, where it's like because you're less in his head then, and so when he does stuff that's clever, you're not party to it anymore. But I just think this is such a good setup for
his motivations are very clear. I think
Yeah.
and his character, because you see his kind of strength of character, and you see him kind of fumbling around to begin with, but you know what he's trying to do, and then when he has to affect douchebag Playboy, it's all the more effective as a storytelling device because you know how he isn't even nearly like that guy. And the sacrifice he has to make as well, like when they burn the house down and stuff, and he doesn't only have to sacrifice the house, which is the least of it, he has to sort of embarrass his family name. You know, the what is it? The apple's falling far from the trees. Nice dialogue there.
Fane's drunk as well. And Alfred has that thing about like, and that's the great thing about Alfred has such a great function in this story. You know, it's like he's, you know, he says to him, like, it's not just your name, it's the whole family. It's like, what, you know, don't destroy it, and you know, because again, it's like that. That balance thing. I mean, the Batman's about duality. I know, you know, it's an obvious thing, but it's more so the Bruce, or the identity of Bruce Wayne, but you know, all of this stuff is about him finding his identity, right? He's traveling, he's training, but he's also finding who he is and why. You know, he doesn't know. He knows what the problem is, and he knows what he's trying. You know, he knows what he's running from, but he doesn't know how to solve it. And it's like, and that's always the thing of him. He's bouncing between these different things, and he has so many father figures in this, which is the point, you know. And it's about him then finding himself in all that. And that's that. You know, it's so well defined. It's not pretentious though. It's not sort of like up its own arse about it. It's still a Batman film. It's still an action movie at the end of the day. But it's
it tells quite a mature story well. I think that's the thing, you know, because like you say, there are themes in it, and there are clear narrative breaks. There's clear character motivation, great performances, great dialogue. So it feels like a grown-up film, despite being about, you know, it's, you know, I don't take this the wrong way, but it's essentially a children's character. But the great thing about Batman is you can approach it in so many different ways. And Christopher Nolan as well. Keep in mind, this is only his third feature. He's not the guy we know today. He's not powerhouse filmmaker Christopher Nolan. Who's palindromically huffed his farts recently, but you know, he was not unproven. I think people have seen what he could do, but it's quite a thing to give, because I know David Goyer kind of wrote this as well, but like to give this franchise to, you know, an auteur filmmaker who done some interesting stuff. Because keep in mind as well, his second film was a remake. Memento is first movie, is most like, you know, that sets a template for his career, I think, because I think the Batman films are the only ones that don't do some kind of time manipulation stuff, and even this has a kind of flashback-y structure.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying. Yeah, I think you're right. It's there's always some sort of I'm buggering about with time, you know, and it's like, yeah. I mean, I get it. What's the theme in this one, Chris? What happens?
World War II.
Yeah, I mean,
but what if the time was? Oh, for fuck's sake! I actually really liked how that was done in Dunkirk, applying it to a real.
No,
world,
I do. It's clever. Like, don't get me
situation.
wrong. I think it's a smart use of it as a storytelling, you know, in a different way to look at it. It's just, I think like Tenet. Someone said in the comments earlier, like, oh, Tenet is his James Bond film. It's like, is it? Like, it's not. Like, James Bond doesn't. I mean, I know, like, okay, you could say that, but it's like, well, because it's got spies in it. But it's not. I don't think of it as that. I know he might say it is, but it's like there's not. It doesn't really have. I mean, if you wanted to look at it in a very deconstructionist way, but even then, it's kind of like, no, because it's like different. It's such. I mean, even to talk about that film it's such a sort of suet pudding.
Well, I've had,
of a movie.
Funnily enough, some lads I'm in a group with today were just kind of like, have anybody seen Tenet? And a bunch, because I haven't, and the others were going like, yeah, man, there's lots of mumbling and it's really hard to follow. It's confusing, and I was kind of like,
the problem with it is that basically the conceit is that anything can be charged with reverse, like you can reverse the radioactive signature. So in other words, it can be traveling backwards in time instead of forwards. But then by the time you get to the end, there's certain people going in the opposite direction, and there's certain objects going in the opposite direction. But then there are people who've gone in the opposite direction, then changed and come back again, but you're following it from, and it just gets to this point where it's like, I mean, I know you can sit there, and if you take it apart bit by bit and go like, no, because they're the blue team and they're the red team.
I forgot how to boil eggs just listening to that.
Yeah,
push down my head.
So it's just like, and at that point, it's like, is this just are you going to take? You know, are there going to be questions afterwards, or what? Like, I know it's designed to be a sort of, you're supposed to come back and watch this 100 times, and that's fine. I think you also need to get in a bit more entertainment in order to convince me to do that. Because I'm not convinced I really want to go back and watch that again. Which is a shame, because I do like Christopher Nolan. I like him a lot. I think he's got a lot of really just amazing.
That's the first one where I've been a bit like, am I going to watch that though? Whereas I legitimately love Interstellar, because that's his swing at kind of 70s sci-fi stuff, and I really love timey-wimey things. I thought Dunkirk was brilliant, such a brilliant way of telling that story. But Tenet was a bit like, okay. Is it though? Oh, you know.
Yeah.
Palindrome. Ken Watanabe looks weirdly young in this, playing a false immortal. He's got a very smooth face. He's got those magnificent Watanabe cheekbones and features, though. Still,
he does have some questionable line delivery, although he's a fake, so it's kind of fair enough.
This is the thing, because this is the thing with Ra's al Ghul, isn't it? Because they've gone straight in with one of the more supernatural Batman villains, like undeniably so, and they've made him not that. And then in the third one, they kind of go, oh well, there are different meanings to the word immortal, and that is like saying the treasure was the friends you made along the way. Like, that's not an answer. Like, don't give me that bullshit.
Well, yeah, because I mean they do that in this. Don't forget, because he sort of does that. But Ra's al Ghul's, what is it, like, supernatural or whatever? You know, it's kind of like, yeah, because the point is, you lied about who you were in the first place, so no one really knows who Ra's al Ghul is. It's, you know, and that's what he's taught him to do. That's what he said is, become a legend. Don't just be a vigilante. Don't just be a man. Be a legend. And that's what he is. So it's like, it's that clever thing of pitting two ideals against each other rather than men, because
I really
that's
level that as well. I think getting under the skin of what would make that work is what, because like, how would that work? Because again, there are certain versions of Batman where it's kind of like, look, there goes Batman in his bat car, but then there are versions where it's kind of like, oh dude, we were attacked by this 9-foot tall shadow with claws. It's the whole urban legendy thing, and it seems you took my advice about theatricality rather literally, or whatever he says. And it's the ninja thing as well, because he goes trains of ninjas, but it's the whole thing of kind of deception and theatrics. And actually, one of the big themes, and this is a good scene to talk about it, but the big theme in this is fear, and I think the discussions of fear and the politics of fear and the weaponization of fear is done very nicely in this. And they even have, like, he makes that joke about huffing weaponized hallucinogens at a party or whatever, doesn't he? But fear as a weapon and fear as a tool and a utility, employed in different ways, because Batman kind of does it for good. But then, what
I love about it as well, though, is we talk about fear mainly from the perspective of Batman, but also from Ra's al Ghul. But the character that you should be talking about it with is the Scarecrow, right? Because that's what he's all about. And you do, but it's like, what I love about that is he's more the kind of facade of fear, but it's artificial fear. It's not actual fear, And I remember when I saw the trailers for this, and you had Cillian Murphy doing his whole the Batman and all that sort of stuff, and I thought, that looks awful. He looks like a hacky actor, and then it was like, actually, no, for some reason that works really well.
Doesn't it? I think.
Yeah. Well, and this film is all about context. I don't think, because I remember seeing all the promotional stuff and thinking, that's weird. And then I saw a trailer, and it barely had Batman in it at all, and I was like, okay, but then I kind of was getting on board with it, and then obviously by the time the film rolled around, I was like, this is what I want. I think it just delivers and then delivers and then delivers. And it's like, it completely caught us all napping in a lot of ways, and I'm sure to a certain generation this is like the obvious way to make. I mean, this is dull and tedious to certain people, I suppose.
Yeah, we're the old farts now, aren't we? Banging on about our Batman film or whatever. But I get that. Enjoy your Robert Bat one. I'm sure it'll be great too, or whatever. I'll tell you what's good about this as well. This was because I was really, as you can imagine, really cool, intelligent, worldly, and mature. I knew that the only way to adapt a comic was to page by page do it literally, or it's a desecration, because I was an idiot. And this really, what this does, and I think one thing that Marvel have done very successfully is what this did. This takes a couple of really successful Batman stories and synthesizes a new story out of it, and takes loads of important moments, like the thing with the kind of bat summoning thing is from Batman Year One, and there's a few bits, it synthesizes these things into a new story. So you kind of see things that you're familiar with, but also you get something new. And that's what the Marvel movies do, really. They take a bunch of stuff and they synthesize it differently and have different outcomes and stuff, and then you get something new from it. And the best adaptations do that, because I've kind of found this when The Walking Dead was good, which is a true thing that happened, I swear. It was changing things enough, because I read the first 100 issues of The Walking Dead. It changed things enough that it kept you guessing, because what would be the point in watching a fucking 10-year TV show if you knew everything that was going to happen in it? And I think the Dredd movie does that. It tells a completely original story, but keeps the characters in as long as you keep the characters intact. And this does such a good job with the characters. I think that's important. Unless you're into Ra's al Ghul as a supernatural, in which case you go they tell you to go fuck yourself, mate. You've been mugged off by Christopher Nolan.
One thing I think this does really well is give you a very clear idea of whose perspective it is, and it's often Batman's or Bruce Wayne's, but like there it's kind of the camera's at his eye level. Gordon kneels down into it. That when his parents are killed, it's all very like Joe Chill just seems to come out of nowhere, like because a kid wouldn't notice that. A kid doesn't know what a vagrant looks like with he's dangerous. He doesn't know he's just in an alleyway, and then suddenly it's like he's got the gun at his dad, and you don't really know why. What's his dad's name? Thomas Wayne. Thank you, Thomas Wayne. Like, obviously, steps in front of his mum at some point because he feels she's being threatened or whatever. The whole pearl grabbing thing isn't pretentiously done on the end of the gun for some reason, which sort of implies that his mum's face was just exploded by a fucking 9mm.
And his plan to steal the pearls was to snap them and then pick them all up individually. I know that's a motif that's used in Batman over and over, but. Him breaking the pearls off with a gun that he then blew her face off with.
Yeah. So it's got, but there it's kind of like, he's just grabbed at it, and it's just all very snap, and you don't know what, because it's all from his perspective. And then it sort of ends on that shot of him just there with his parents, dead in the alleyway. And it's kind of, it's really well done.
I forgot Rutger Hauer was in this. Of course he is.
Did you?
Yeah. And it's because his character doesn't come back, does he? And you just kind of. And it's a really, not a huge role, but a pivotal role, and a great performance by him. And
this bit made me chuckle though when Michael Caine goes, "I thought I might prepare a little supper." I don't know why.
Yeah, orphan, you had some supper. And we got a super chat from James Liddell, $4.99, which is addressing the current. It appears the "Do you keep ketchup in the fridge or the cupboard" meme has kicked off. So that's do you keep ketchup in the Evening gents, would Alfred put the ketchup in the fridge or the cupboard? Well, Alfred's a butler and ketchup's a preserve, so it's got high vinegar content. You put it in the cupboard, surely.
I would normally. I think in the past I've tended to keep it in the cupboard. I think my wife prefers it in the fridge, so that's where ours lives. But I mean,
the boss gets what the boss wants.
You might be surprised to learn that. I don't give a shit.
I've done both. I would never. If I went to someone's house and said, "Have you got ketchup?" and it was not in the desired place, I wouldn't care. It's not like it turns to urine in the wrong. And again, it's a preserve. It's like
it's full of vinegar.
Yeah, you can put jam in the fridge if you want, but it's a preserve. The clue's in the name. You don't need to do that.
There's lots of stuff like that, though. I reckon, like tomatoes, you shouldn't put in the fridge, or eggs. I mean, we don't keep eggs in the fridge.
No.
It accelerates things.
It accelerates there. Eggs last longer than a sell by date. Anyway, this is fun, isn't it? What a fun. Oh, of course, yeah, because he's beefy as fuck in this, isn't he? And he just famously came off the back of The Machinist and had done. Or was The Machinist after this or before?
No, before. It came out after this, but it was made before this.
Where he was, slimmed down. Because there are scenes in The Machinist where he's similar size to that, like the framing scenes. But then,
there's this stuff, where he's when you find out
down spoilers for
The Machinist is a great film. I think it's really, really good film.
The Machinist. It's great. It's got that kind of crazy Cronenberg-y vibe to it, hasn't it? It's got sort of Cronenberg meets Hitchcock, I'd say. And one of the
must watch that actually.
Yeah, me too. I saw that in the cinema actually, but that was back in the.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, well, so back in the day when I lived in Southampton, there's a picture house called the Harbour Lights, which is a nice art cinema, and being pretentious film nerds. That I lived with as on the course with, we went and saw fucking all kinds of stuff all the time. And then on a film course, your lecturers was kind of like, "Well, this film's out by this director, and you should perhaps check it out if you get the time." which we would go do, and then just go drink pound pints, and someone would be sick. Student.
Hashtag student.
Yeah, I don't want to be too cultured about it. Someone would have snake bite in black and do a sick somewhere. That's the usual.
See, I love all this stuff because this is surrogate father stuff, isn't it? This is all, and he talks about the will to act. I'm not sure what accent Liam Neeson is sort of choosing for this because he very rarely actually does his own voice in stuff.
No, I'm a commuter. My name's a commuter. He does not say in The Commuter, but he should. It would be a better film.
The will to act is Ras Al Ghul. Sort of he's very. Which is great. I mean, he's very flowery. Again, they give him the stupid beard, and yet he sells it all. Like he's got to sell these crazy monologues and philosophy monologues and stuff, and yet he makes it so real. And I love it. I think it's so well cast. This film. It's one of those films I wish that's one of those films I just wish. When people say to me like, "What's your dream role? What do you want to be the next of?" And I'm like, I don't want to be the next of anything. I just want to be cast in something that is this cohesive and this good. And that I'm this right for, because that's not always up to me, or it's not a case of being good. I mean, these are all great actors, but it's like if you put them in the wrong thing, they're not. Like Christian Bale as John Connor. I'm sorry, I don't think it works. No. And Liam Neeson as well. He's been in some duffers and all, but they are great actors, and if you put them in the right thing, they're just incredible with the right director and the right script.
Things go well for us. I'm going to put you in my Gritty Banana Man film.
Very good.
It's just called Eric.
I reckon that.
Because you've got to be, you can't call it Banana Man. That's stupid and dumb. Here's my serious film about a man that turns into a banana superhero.
it's just called Banana. As Banana.
I am the banana. You haven't seen it? Have you seen the fifth Dirty Harry movie, the Deadpool?
No.
Liam Neeson plays a kind of British or an English film director in that, and that's quite an accent. I'm sure as an actor he's developed a lot in the years, but he does a pretty ropey kind of like, oh bloody hell type thing, opposite right. Jim Carrey in the opening scenes, which is fucking weird, in a very small role. But yeah, it's not one. When Comic Exchange says, did you see Seraphim Falls? Pierce versus Liam.
Yes, I have it on Blu-ray.
What's that? Blu-ray.
It's good. It's a slow movie. It's not sort of action packed, but it is very. It's about basically I think Pierce plays a sort of frontier general guy. Is he a frontier general? He's something like that. They're basically both generals. I don't know if they're in the same army or if they're in opposing sort of around the Civil War era. And Pierce is on the run. I don't know whether he's a deserter or what he is, but he's on the run. And it's basically a chase movie across sort of, I don't know what sort of country it is, like it's sort of Appalachian. It's very similar to sort of Fistful of Lead type landscapes where it's just like snow everywhere, but obviously better because there was more money. And there's like Pierce Brosnan digging a bullet out of himself with a knife and stuff. It's pretty gritty.
Sounds great.
It's good, man. Like, it's really good. I remember thinking in the cinema that his parents' bed looked like a big pair of tits.
IMDb. If you go look at the scene when he returns home, his mum and dad's bed looks like a big pair of tits.
And there's a sex cupboard next to it, lots of like dildos.
He should use a stethoscope to listen to the tits, and that's. Also, I like how he's a 35-year-old man with floppy hair, ergo he's 20. There's only so much you can do in 2005, so fair play to them. There's only so much you can do.
I think it works. I do think it works, and I think he's they put him in sort of preppy clothes and
and he sells the he's going to just walk up and shoot him. It's idiotic, but that's what you would do when you're 20 and you've had all this inside you and you've just let it eat you away and stuff. I get it. It makes sense.
Well, it's another comment on the idea of destiny versus free will and determinism. It's that thing of his plan, ill-conceived though it was he couldn't let Joe Chill live, and he was just going to walk up and shoot him. But then fate intervened, didn't it? And he got justice, but then was that really justice? And and it's like it throws all those questions into your head, not just his. It's not. We don't have to be told that Bruce Wayne wrestled with the problem. It's like, well, no, we got that because it's like, well, we know what he's intending to do. We think it's dumb. Obviously we know that he probably doesn't do it because it's Batman, but it's then it's taken away from him by that the woman who works for Falcone or whatever, and you kind of go, shit, what would that do to you? And it gets you thinking. And it's just smart, man. It's just really, really smartly put together. And I think people give Katie Holmes so much shit for this, and I really don't get it. I think she's really good. I think she's really good at this film. She absolutely nails. She makes that part more than it. It's definitely more than a Vicky Vale.
And yeah, she's the original character as well, which is brave because people like to have shit fits over that kind of stuff. So she comes as. It's a real shame she didn't come back. I really like Maggie Gyllenhaal, but it's such a shame she didn't come back. It seems like
it would have had so much more weight if she had.
Yeah, absolutely.
That makes such a big difference to the Dark Knight. And like you said, I do like Maggie Gyllenhaal, but she plays it as someone completely different, which is fine. But it's like she's all of a sudden she's a sort of sassy blah 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 like whatever. And it's like, did you watch the first film?
yeah, right. Someone said, someone I know said she looks like a sad cat. Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Cabbage with a face. Not my words, the words of Empire Magazine. Now we have 2 super chats. No, yeah. 2 super chats. Mark Flanagan, $5. She says, Duncan, you've been lucky in that your larger roles have suited you well, but have you been in a film where poor production hurt your performance?
It's definitely in a film with poor production quite recently, I can tell you that.
I mean, look, I've worked on stuff that didn't have the biggest budget in the world, but I don't like to. I don't like to make excuses. I am not the best critic of my own work. I've said this a million times. I don't like watching it back. I don't understand when I get praised for certain things, and I don't understand when I get criticised for certain things, and it doesn't make any sense to me. But then that is sort of the point in that I am. It's not possible to be objective about such things when you are the thing in question. So I don't worry about it, and therefore I do take responsibility for all that, and I would never say, I wouldn't blame poor production for me looking shit, because though you could make that excuse, I don't think there's any. I think you just have to own it all and let go of it all as well. I think you have to be able to say, yeah, that was me because I did it and I made those choices in the moment, and those choices to do that project and the choices of performance. But now I've let it go. I think that's what when people say you have to do it and then just let it go and give it over to the audience and it's theirs now. And that's true of filmmakers and actors and all people. I think that there's more to that than just, I don't care, I'm walking away. It's actually also saying, and I'm not going to blame anyone, and I'm not going to beat myself over the head for it. So I hope that makes sense. Ellie sent us $4.99. Says, I forgot to post spanking myself now on the tits bed.
I didn't tell you, Ellie. I did it all late. I was busy today. I'm sorry. It's not your fault at all.
It's not your fault.
Don't give us money, Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ! Look at his hair. I just love it.
Would you look at his floppy hair?
His floppy boy band hair.
What's this? Isn't there a silly cut where it's like she just keeps slapping him in the face?
Right. Okay.
Trying to say something. But
yeah. I do like all this character stuff so good. Cause she sells it really well, and she's just pissed off, and he's had his catharsis taken away and stuff. Which caused him to channel it into becoming a bat-themed vigilante. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, it is daft, isn't it? When you think about it, it's like, but we're, you're so in its head. And that's what I loved about it. By the time, I honestly thought when I was watching this for the first time in the cinema, the moment where he pulls Falcone out of the car and goes, "I'm Batman," I was like, I thought it was going to end.
Right? Yeah, that really does fit.
Even though it's only an hour in, but it's just like,
because that would be the first episode of a really high. Well, it's different now, but a really high-end TV show, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Pull it. I got to open a window. Fuck me. Sorry, I'll be back.
Been far.
Martin, put a shirt on.
Right, Tom Watson, of course. Is it Tom Watson? Yeah. I thought as well. I remember when I watched this first time, I thought his accent was a bit hokey, but actually it's really good. There's the guy from Father Ted who plays the judge, who I always loved. He was the pilot in that episode of Father Ted when they're stuck on the plane. That and this are the only things I really know him from. But good on him. He's in 2 brilliant things, so fair enough. That's you can't say fairer than that. Yeah, I mean, great British cast in this film. But yeah, Falcone. I actually did a scene from this in a very early showreel. In fact, my first showreel, which was kind of purpose shot because when you're starting out, you don't have any material. And I did the scene where he meets with Crane. There's the scene where he's, because I just like the bit when he goes. It's not Falcone, is it? Is it Falcone? No, it is Falcone. When Falcone meets with Flash, and he goes not Flash. Falcone meets with Crane. He says about what is it? He says like I can't remember what he said, but he goes like, "We're paying you for that," and that was one of my favourite things. So I did that. I was just saying, "Oh, he's put a shirt on."
I've gone for a lighter tog because I was boiling in that vest even, and I opened the window so you might get a bit of traffic noise. Sorry, what were you saying? And I thought I'd Westlake more. I love this. I fucking love this shirt. It's my most ridiculous shirt. What were you saying?
I'd say Tom. Is it Tom Watson? Tom Watson? Tom?
No, Tom. Fuck from the Full Monty and the such like.
Yeah. Tom Watson.
Someone in the credits will know. In the chat will know.
Wilkinson.
People
already like yeah. Sorry, Tom Wilkinson. Apologies. This guy as well, like Boris the Blade from. Snap.
Yes, of course. Nice coat.
Turned up in everything you needed a Russian in, basically, for like including John Wick. Shit.
Sneaky fucking Cossack.
yeah. It's a nice coat. He's great though.
I like an awesome callback as well. There's such a lovely little bit of writing.
And it's ridiculous because he's like, why is he just there eating something? And it's just like, oh, I didn't realise like that shit was getting. No, there's gunfire. People getting
just having a bin sandwich down by the docks. It must be Tuesday.
Yeah, but I'm 3 bottles deep.
So it's 5 o'clock somewhere in the Empire.
Yeah, I love that as well. Like you always see him running off to the shipping, up to the ship, and that's it. You don't need to know like how else he got where he's going.
Yeah, it's just very deft, very deftly done. It's lovely. This stuff is because it is essentially, it's a crime gap year for a decade. It's
yeah, but he only robs himself, and it's like I never became one of them, and it's like. Yeah, just because it says Wayne on it doesn't mean.
I mean, you're robbing someone, no?
It's Wayne somewhere though.
You brutally murdered that man. It's okay. His name was Wayne. What? Doesn't make any sense.
It's like, okay, right.
Sorry.
I love this stuff with the flower as well. Because originally when I saw this in the cinema, I was like, "What does that mean?" And then he starts, like he opens the chest and bats fly out, and I was like, "That's hokey." And then afterwards, you go, "Oh, it's because he was hallucinating."
That's what I mean about gap year. He gets in with the rough crowd, starts doing drugs. It's exactly a gap year. Yeah, no, I like all this stuff. It's so not because it builds on the stuff that's in the comics and does its own thing with it. So again, you don't just feel like, and it has key moments, but you don't feel like you're. Watching things be recycled, and it's the derivation of the scarecrow toxins, so you get a nice bit of kind of fan stuff there as well.
I like it because it's 7 years, isn't it, or something? You're supposed to have been gone.
So yeah, I mean, because it has kind of a Christ parallel in that he comes back. He's supposed to come back when he's like 30, right? That's the idea. But I don't think his absenteeism isn't as long as Jesus. Stupid absent Jesus. But yeah, this kind of I like that the jitter. I don't know what that is. They kind of they do that a lot. Transformations of people's eyes. Because I remember fucking in the big screen. I think it's when he has Scarecrow. Where Scarecrow sees him as that big kind of licorice gargoyle. And on the big screen, I think because he kind of oozes like tar.
Yeah. It's all like coming out his lips and his eyes.
Like in seeing that, it's just
brilliant.
Like, whoa, fucking hell! Because it's a nice kind of like PG-13 horror, isn't it? Because it's not bloody or anything, or it's just that kind of menace. I think what they like to call the BBFC like to call mild peril now, don't they?
Yeah, no, but it's a sort of. I love that idea of turning it around on the like what would someone who's hallucinating see Batman like, and from the street level when he's flying over them later on, he's got like just horns
jets
and
like
fire coming out. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Really clever. Again, it's about the utilization of fear, the politics of fear, and like.
Well, it's about and it's literalism as well because it's about saying like, oh, he's striking fear, he's doing the Batman thing, but it's like then that's heightened when they're on fear toxins, and you can literally turn it up to 11. and sort of also have your cake and eat it too by saying like, oh, everyone's shit scared of him, but it's also because they're hallucinating on drugs that make them afraid. You know, it's like it's sort of. It's really well done. I love all that. It's nice
as an origin story as well because it helps build the legend of Batman as a monster. Because like hundreds of thousands of people saw the kind of crazy bat monster flying around, and then they go and tell everybody. Because like I think even like some of the, Batman comics are such a. It's not something I'd like to unpick because it's this vast. It's nearly a century worth of material. Getting on for it at least. There are so many different versions and such, but even ones that are set, I think even the Dark Knight Returns posits that he's still like an urban legend. So he kind of operated on that download forever in that version. And again, there are other versions where he saves the world from a giant starfish or whatever.
Well, that's what I mean as well. Like, it's because we've done that at the end of this film, and I love that. That's such a great character thing because it's just done with a bunch of blokes standing in a room. And he's like, and he just goes and nicks all their arms because he knows that's what's going to give him away. And then it's But Russell Gould does that clap thing. It's like, it's just weird. Everything he does is weird. How he holds the poker is really weird, and it's just like, Gotham must be destroyed. And it's like he's probably leaning into that. I don't know what it is. Like I guess a Japanese
great in this
accent. He's so fucking wonderful. He's wonderful in everything, mate. He's great in Inception as well. He's great in
the more recent Godzilla movies as well. He's been good. I'm not a huge fan of those, but it's nice to see him in them doing his thing.
Yeah, big fan.
He looks so young here. It's mad, isn't it?
I guess it. Yeah, I mean, he probably was in a way, but yeah, I just like his delivery. Again, it sort of comes off really over the top the first time you see this, and then you kind of like get it. But then it's like he's just an imposter. He doesn't know what he's doing. Because when you see him in the fight later on, he's like he doesn't really get a chance to flex his muscles because he just gets the thing collapses on him, and all he does is go like and then it like gets exploded or whatever. You never see him fight, so it's kind of like he's probably shit. He's basically like the Mandarin from Iron Man.
Yes, he's like Trevor. He's actually from Croydon.
He's an amateur dramatics enthusiast. That's why his accent's so weird.
I can't remember what he got. I hear is Richard III was the toast of Croydon, whatever that is.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Iron Man 3 is great. Everyone shut up. This looks so because it was, and this is going to sound dumb, but this is probably the end of the era of film shot on film that look like film. So I think now things are so processed and stuff. I think Nolan still shoots on film and stuff, but this transfer I'm watching looks so filmic. But I constantly talk about how I hate shooting on film owing to an early traumatic experience. So I'm not gonna...
Shooting on film is great when you have an ARRI team and someone comes along and just when you're not actually doing it, when there's a
luxury
team.
For a fabulously high-end production where you pay experts to do it for you.
Yeah,
not something you should ever do yourself.
They digitize it and cut it, in whatever digital program. It's not like they cut film anymore or have done for decades, but
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah, I mean, I did enjoy the experience of editing film. I thought it was really interesting. Mark Flanagan, Bob Kane got credit here, and that's it. Lots of writers and artists have had their ideas pilfered for these movies. Is that problematic? I would say that it is, because I think comic book writers have been fucked over historically so many times. And there's something cool. I think it's called the Superhero Initiative. Is it the Superhero Initiative? And it's kind of like a sort of crowdfunding charity thing specifically for penniless comic writers who've been dicked over. Like, the fact that exists is pretty horrible.
Because when didn't Bill Finger get credit in like Batman versus Superman or something? They went out their way to.
Yeah, they've kind of tried to right that wrong.
Yeah, but I think
because Superman got fucked for years as well. That was another.
Oh god, yeah. But then they signed it. Didn't they sell their rights for like pennies to? I mean, it's one of those things where you kind of go. I don't think the film. I don't think it's it's like when it's somewhere that's bought rights off someone who had said rights. It's more. It's not as simple as they made a big budget movie and that's evil and wrong. Oh, you do get to see him fight a bit. Okay, I was wrong.
There you go.
But it's not particularly. He is sort of kicking his ass, isn't he?
It'd be great if he just pulled out a gun. Didn't know anything about fight. He just had a gun, and that was his thing. If anybody tries to fight you, shoot them with this gun.
Yeah. Here's the secret to banging it.
The secret to banging. It's this little gun I'm going to give you.
It's this. It's called a handgun. It's like,
he has to
I guess
tell
there's
him.
not many televisions here in the mountains, but it's been around a while.
These little metal beans are called bullets. You put them in the pipe.
But are his methods supernatural? No, you have a gun. Like,
say that again and I'll point my bagpipe at you.
My fire pipes.
Right. I'll shoot a little metal bean into your face. I'm Ra's al Ghul.
This shit was done for real, right? The hanging off the cliff and stuff. That was all done, obviously on cables. Yeah, but a guy, literally doing that for reals, which is awesome. And it's ridiculous. Yeah. It's sort of, again, heightened. Like, he lifts a man with one arm up but, it's will, isn't it?
Then he's got his... there's a proper name for the sword blocky things, but he digs those in, doesn't he? And it's like...
The gauntlets on his... Yeah.
There's a proper name for those spikes. Yeah. Frank is in the chat. Frank's worked in comics for a while. He was just saying he can tell you all kinds of things about comic book writers getting fucked over. And Frank and I did a cheeky little Resident Evil 5 Let's Play that we dropped on the channel at the weekend. The kind of impromptu thing.
My point with all that is that when it comes to a studio buying the rights to something, they're buying them off whoever owns them. So it's not a case of they're just big mean poo-poo heads for not giving credit to Bill Finger. Because they technically, legally can't necessarily. But I do think it is wrong on the face of it that he never.
There are lots of different versions of what's happened. I think because sometimes they've signed it away. Sometimes they've been misled into signing it away. There's the thing of not giving them credit, which is shitty. I know, for example, so Watchmen technically is sort of creator owned, and Watchmen in theory shouldn't be owned by DC. Like, they gave a deal to Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons, and they said as soon as this goes out of print, the moment this goes out of print, it belongs to you. It's entirely creator owned. But what they've done is, because it was such a success, they've just kept it in perpetuity for 40 years. So it will never, as long as they publish a copy, and you can argue that that's Moore and Gibbons' fault for not thinking that through. Perhaps not knowing it'd be such a success.
No. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't argue that. But my point is that when it gets to a movie, like Warner Brothers buying the rights from DC or whoever owns them, they're not necessarily in a position to credit whomever for the creation of the characters, because they're not buying. It's all going to go to, like, yes, I understand. Like, Bill Finger 100% deserves credit, but it depends what was in the. If Bob Kane, by all accounts, was pretty ruthless in how he sewed up the rights and claimed it as his own. Yeah, it's his thing. And I gather it's a fairly technical thing that he'd drawn it once, but he'd considered it his idea.
Comics have like I say, with the superhero, I think it's called the Superhero Initiative. Comics has this rich history of people getting fucked over. It's really fucked up.
Yeah, it is. No, it is totally.
On the British side as well. The British side of comics has a similar thing that's gone on.
I just mean it's not as simple as saying that it's all the movies' fault.
Yeah, good, bad, and whatever. Because if they just, I didn't know what was said in the super chat, that only Bob Kane gets credit, because this has Frank Miller in it, this has Jeff Loeb in it, and then it has all the David Mazzucchelli, who I have a problem saying his name. Mm-hmm. So like all these people, and for only one person to get credit, because it takes really pivotal stuff, thematic stuff from those. It's kind of what I was saying earlier about synthesizing the plots together.
But they're story creators. They're not. Bill Finger would get credit for creating Batman,
creating a character, yeah.
But if he's not technically.
If you're taking someone's story ideas, you should give them story credit, or at least based upon.
I'm all for it. I am all for Bill Finger and Siegel and Schuster and all the people who genuinely came up with this stuff and were the creative forces behind it getting full credit. I'm 100% behind that. I just understand the legal mechanisms that probably preclude people from doing that in certain scenarios, and it's not right. And I gather that it's because Bob Kane died that they were able to start, they say his wife died or something. Basically, like, his estate got dissolved in such a way that meant
my position is fuck them. Fuck all of no, not really. Just come out and be the Grinch. Just be kind of like, these comic writing cunts. Fuck them. They don't deserve anything. No, I don't actually think that. I'm sat behind a wall of comics.
100%. I know, and I don't like creatives getting fucked over. Being one myself.
Yeah. It's just very. It gets into particularly movie making, becomes a very complicated situation, as you say. It's not.
You have to be very ruthless in this industry, and it starts quite early on. And you know, it may make you seem unreasonable in lots of ways, but actually, I mean, unfortunately, it's how you sustain a career. And I think, you know, it's but you know, those guys were writing and creating stuff in an era where like comic books weren't what they are now, and they could never have foreseen that they would be billion-dollar franchise.
Fuck yeah, dude! Like, you know, can you imagine? Like, Walt Disney didn't know he was creating Disney the way it's become. I mean, he died fucking years before it became what it is today, even, let alone there's a huge success of things related to Disney and blah, blah, blah. You just don't know, do you? Because if they knew, they'd be creating loads of them. You'd just be flinging them out all over the place.
Well, yeah, I mean, and it's like, you know, because we saw that with Stan Lee, didn't he? Sold off the rights because he just needed to keep Marvel afloat. You saw it with, like, Siegel and Schuster sold, what did they, like, tuppence or whatever, because they got paid, I don't know, 20 grand or something.
Stan Lee is, you know, I don't mean to disrespect the dead, but just to go into bat for a certain section of people. Stan Lee is often considered by some to be the fucker and not the fucky.
Right.
He was, because hey, look, he was like this ambassador for comics, is this gregarious character, but within Marvel it seems, because yeah, Marvel had to sell rights and stuff like that, but he has been accused of attributing credit to himself where perhaps it isn't due.
Right.
Certain things. I'm not going to go into that because it's just opening a can of worms, a can of radioactive worms that bite me, give me worm powers. Oh, my uncle's dead.
But I can cut my dick off and it'll grow back.
But the bit I cut off will crawl away on its own.
Do you remember in a lot of the publicity stuff in like the Empire magazine and stuff, that a lot of the shots of this were just him standing in the cave with that light and everything, and it was all a bit like, that's weird. But then obviously the CGI bats weren't there. But I remember them saying like a lot of these bats were like the technology was very clever because it was designed around, they could 3D map the environment and the bats wouldn't bump into anything. So it's at the time it was a very clever, you know. It
looks great.
This was the scene I used in my show reel. So I was saying to everyone when you were putting your shirt on that I stole when I started out, you know, most actors when they start out have to shoot show reels. They don't have footage for one, obviously, and this was one of the scenes I chose to do it, and I played the Cillian Murphy role because I just loved his. I think it was mainly the line where he goes, "We're paying you for that."
Yes,
it's just like,
yeah.
You know, he's like, well, maybe money isn't as interesting to me as favors. You know, it's like, and it's in Tom Wilkinson. I was saying to everyone as well, I think when you were changing shit, like I thought when I first saw this again, Tom Wilkinson was kind of amping up the New York bad guy kind of thing, and it's like actually it works really well. Like I mean, especially when you get towards the end, it's like actually no, I like it because he's kind of got more of a London mob boss look, but he's you know, I think he sells it well because it feels a bit out of place until you realise that no, hang on, we're not watching New York here, we're watching like this is a comic book thing. Yeah. But I mean, it isn't who I would necessarily see as Falcone. Like Falcone to me is much more of a big Italian looking guy. You know?
Yeah, the proper stereotype New York gangster type deal. It's quite that's what I like because Flass. Is it Lieutenant Flass? In the comic, he's like a big football jock, ex-Special Forces guy. And in this, he's the fat motel dude from Memento.
And he's in Sons of Anarchy and stuff. I forget the guy's name. It's not Tommy Flanagan, he's the other.
Great actor. I can't... Shameful.
He's wonderful. Yeah, no, he's absolutely brilliant. But and I love Flass as a character in this. And he's sort of a bit more even, lower life Harvey Bullock, isn't he?
Yes. Yeah.
Harvey Bullock isn't corrupt. He gets in with the wrong people, but I don't think he ever crosses the line of
horribly jaded because he's worked in Gotham for so long. So you've got this kind of grey morality. Also,
I'd have loved to do a take on Bullock as well. You
know? The receptionist, she's like British, isn't she as well? Like Rick Howard's reception. I can't think of her. Yeah, what's the matter? Your kids don't eat falafel? Is a thing I.
She's like, what's the matter? I don't like falafel.
I say that to myself every time I see falafel anywhere because I've clearly got some kind of low spectrum autism that requires me to replay these things in my head all the time. And I do quite like.
He's literally just taking money out of the guy's thing,
yeah,
isn't he? He's like
helping himself to cash.
It's just like taking cash and it takes food from him as well. Well, I don't like falafel.
Is he the guy? Is it Flass that he says "swear to me" to?
Yeah, it's right after that he strings him up. Literally just strings him up. And again, it's sort of not really explained how the hell he caught him by his ankle and dragged him up. But you don't need to know that. Just grabbed him by his hair and he's like, "Where are the other drugs going?" You know, it's just like that's where the voice works because it's like he's using it for intimidation and he modulates it. So when he's just talking to Rachel, he's just talking to other people. He softens it, But it's like, but in the other films, it's just all the time like. It's
in the last one where. So that's what that feels like. It's just why he's on his own. Like why?
It's like when he's talking to the Joker and stuff. It's like, I don't think he. He's not upset like that. Like he doesn't seem, It's like, so why are you doing that? This city just showed you. It's like, if I was the Joker, I'd be like.
And his whole thing's laughing, so he should have been like that. Like,
yeah.
What's that, mate? You're right, mate.
Stupid. It's like, you're dead stupid. It's like, mate, that's not my real fucking voice.
I'm the fucking Joker, mate. Do you want a snake?
From
Australia. I think because I think that really spun when this came out. That really spun people out, the Batman voice. But it's like he can't just turn. If you really think about it, he can't just turn up and talk like Bruce Wayne. He has to do. And again, I think it's something that I think it's in Batman Year One or one of those books. They talk about him doing a voice because he's kind of a public figure. He can't just be like, "Hello, I'm Batman." It's a bit.
Well, because I think apart from Falcone when he drags him out of the thing and just goes, "I'm Batman," which is a total throwaway thing, and he just nuts him and knocks him out anyway. But it's like, I think the first time he actually sort of speaks to a villain is Flass, isn't it? When he
that scene, kind of...
it might be when he speaks to. I know is it when he speaks to Rachel after all that? But I think the first time he sort of confronts someone as Batman is Flass upside down and thing, and it's like, and that's where it's like, I love that because it's kind of. Because like when he's talking to Gordon behind his desk, and I love that he puts the stapler to the back of his head and stuff like that. It's like he's quiet, just really whispering and quiet. But it's when he's properly intimidating, he's like, and you kind of get it. So you get the different levels of his voice, and it's like, okay, yeah, he would do that. Like, I mean, that makes total sense. But when it's like in the second one, when it's just all the time, and he's talking to Gordon like that, and it's like, you don't really like. He's not gonna go. He's not gonna go. You sound like Bruce Wayne.
If I was him, I'd be Geordie. I'd be.
They have this thing. They have this thing of to cast someone with sort of quite distinctive mouth and jaw because they go, well, it's Batman, that's all you can see of him, and it's like, yeah, but if you do that, he's easily identifiable, isn't it? Like if he's Val Kilmer, he's got a mole, or if he's like, Christian Bale has that kind of, he does that thing with his mouth. It's like they'd be like, well, there's only one person you're Bruce Wayne.
It's just like Bruce Wayne's YouTube channel. Oh my god. Yeah, it's kind of. I do like that prototype Batman, where he's just wearing a ski mask, like the stapler scene, like you just described. I like all that kind of proto. Again, it's something they do in Year One. He kind of dresses up like a homeless guy and puts a scar on his face, and he gets the shit kicked out of him by a bunch of pimps or something. Because he hasn't. Yeah. It's not. He might be physically like ready as a fighter and stuff, but he doesn't have any of the accoutrement. He's not there yet.
Well, he's essentially trying the thing of just being a vigilante, and it doesn't work. Even though in this, it's like he isn't, because he is still putting on his survival suit and everything. But it's like. He doesn't realise, like, I still need to be able to jump off buildings and shit. It's like, I love that, because they do that in Mask of the Phantasm, but they do that scene with the whole him dressing up as a hobo and getting beat up.
They do, yeah.
And he foils like a truck robbery or whatever, but he gets the crap kicked out of him in the process. And...
Yes. Oh, Phantasm's so cool.
So fucking cool. Oh, it's brilliant. It's, again, up there with this, I think, in terms of...
we did a commentary to that, didn't we? Like on our channel. I think so, yeah, because I had a DVD. I swear to God, we did a commentary on it.
We might have done, yeah.
We haven't done a kind of ordinary commentary for over a year now. So it's getting like, I don't remember what we've done. I've had a few people kind of go, I really liked it when you said it in this. And I was like, we did that movie? Oh my God, okay.
Yeah, I know. I was a bit worried because you said, let's put this to the poll. And I was in such a rush this week. I was like, shit, okay, I'll just put it on. But I was like, have we done this already?
So we talked about Batman Begins on an episode. And then you and Ben talked about The Dark Knight on an episode. But you and I have never talked about these on record apart from the It Ain't Break episode.
Not done a commentary on it.
You did, I think. I didn't.
I did before, yeah.
No, we haven't done it on this channel, I don't think. Which is surprising. We were too busy doing Joel Schumacher.
Yeah, fair enough. I love that. See, I love that again. That sort of its silhouette, isn't it? It's like Gordon's face in profile, like the moustache and everything is like spot on. It makes him look like a Simpsons character which gives him an innocence, And then it's like you've got the hand with the three things on the gauntlet, and you're like that's Batman. It's like it's so clear as to what's going on. And I love that.
Did
we?
Was Wally Pfister DOP on this, or is that relationship
Yeah.
not a thing yet? He was.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's quite a look. I liked Transcendence. I'm the
I didn't
only
see it.
person who did. I need to watch it.
Yeah.
There's some dumb stuff in it, but like I quite liked it. It is a very good 1970s throwback, and it's one of these things. It's a bit like Saul Bass making the Ants one I talked about the other day that I forgot the name of for some reason. You know, like he'll probably never direct again, I suppose, because people hated that so much, and it was a big expensive thing. So yeah, I don't know, but it has that look. All the kind of noiry stuff. This has lots of kind of oranges and tungstens and browns. That's there. And the second one is at the other end of the scale, and it's more of a blue film, and it's marketing and quite a bit in it. But if you actually watch it, it still has a similar colour palette to this.
Yeah, and the third one's like white. I suppose it's just black and white, isn't it? Like especially by the end because they're in snow and it's he's in black and stuff. But it's I mean, I think it works again. The sort of coppers and the tone of this work really well. All his gadgetry and all his stuff has a certain sort of coppery colour to it, which I really like.
Like so the belt. So instead of the straight up yellow, it's a more kind of gold brassy thing. Just kind of a subtle way to show that, but not go the full kind of yellow.
Yeah, and it was. It technically wasn't the first time they did the emblem all in black on the thing, but it was the first time without a sort of oval round it, wasn't it?
Right.
Which I kind of appreciated. Like it was just stuck on, but it doesn't sort of add up. Like when you see the bat suit versus the original, like was it Nomax survival suit or whatever? Like they don't look the same.
There's that annoying thing of kind of like, what did he do? Because he spray paints it and then he kind of molded a bat on. It's kind of what's nice is that because I was all when this was coming out, it's kind of like it's bullshit. He used to wear like the grey and black cloth suit like Batman, and then it's kind of like this film's trying to explain how he can get shot at and stuff and be okay, and kind of.
I do think they could have still done like I liked the Ben Affleck suit from Batman vs Superman, but because I do think you can. So I can't remember where I read it before, but it was like if you were to try and hide in the shadows, you wouldn't want to be a big black monolith. You'd want to be broken up because shadows look like that. Because you're still a man. If you're in a man shape, even if it's with a cape and a cowl and stuff, you're still a big shape. Whereas if you're in bits, you wouldn't put a gold like a yellow thing on your chest, but you'd want to break it up. So it makes sense to want to do
that. Frank Miller's thing, I think, from Dark Knight Returns is that the yellow thing is there to give people a target.
Yeah, because but then he puts one bit of bulletproofing behind it, and it's like, or the whole thing.
Because it's what you like about RoboCop 3, but at least those punks at the start go like, why don't we shoot him in the mouth?
Right.
It's a Batman. There's the super chats coming quick.
3, we got 3.
Jesus.
Do you want to read?
Yeah, sure. Eric Granlund, Swedish Krona 50. Thank you very much. Would it be interesting to see Mr. Freeze in a more realistic Batman movie? Maybe he freezes down his loved ones in a way to have control over them. Yeah, I think you could do it. I mean, if you can do Scarecrow and Ra's al Ghul, I don't see why not. I think you could probably do something quite creepy and serial killery with a Mr. Freeze type character.
Yeah.
And as you say, like,
I mean, you could do something. You could literally do something where it's like, he like cryogenically freezes his loved ones because he doesn't want to lose them, and then like I don't know, he has some kind of liquid nitrogen gun that he, I don't know.
It could just be some nut of stuff and put it in the freezer.
I think, I mean, the key thing is that you have to make it work thematically, like as long as the themes work. This I never understood, right? So the fingers with the
memory cloth,
with the memory cloth on them that then turn into really long straight things. It's like, when does he use that?
I think I think that's something he's just trying out, but it doesn't stick with, like, because he's trying to make scary claws, but like he doesn't run with it.
It's weird, isn't it? But I do think
for pointing at things.
I love so. What bats, Master Wayne? I mean, I never asked you that before now.
And we're quite far into this process.
Quite honestly, I thought you might give it up after. I mean, we went through the goth phase and everything, but I see you're taking this quite far. Now, could I just ask, what the fuck is wrong with you?
What the fuck is wrong with you? What's your fucking problem, Master Wayne?
Oh, God, in Tenet, he looks so old as well. He had one scene in Tenet and he's like, yeah. And I was like, oh no.
Oh, bless him. So he's
Like,
probably
it
about
is-
fucking 90 something, isn't he? He's got to be.
Isn't he? Yeah, he's up there, man. Bless him, but he's still fucking sharp as a tack. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
like,
I've no
he's
doubt. I've no doubt. We've got more super chats to get through. This one,
Yes,
I'm being
indeed. Sorry.
careful how I address this one because I don't get myself in trouble.
Oh, can I just say that this bit is one of my favourite bits.
Oh yeah, this
like,
is
obviously
awesome.
the doctor, but the guy when he just goes, "Foomf," like into the container.
So
into
wasn't
the
some of this
darkness.
in the trailer as well? This scene, particularly the
Possibly,
guy,
I don't
when he
know.
and it's like, yeah, Batman doing Batman things, not a
Doosh, like that, yeah.
5'6" dude who can't turn his neck, like just kicking people
Yeah.
through doors. This is Batman actually doing Batman stuff.
Yeah, man. Sorry.
That's right. No,
please go.
I'll get through these. Again, I don't want to get myself in trouble here, Mark. So I'll address it best I can because we try to avoid, let's say, political discussions on here. Rich, can you speak to the thematics of these movies? They seem responsive to current events and fairly conservative in their outlook. Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think Batman inherently is about how the private sector is solving a problem that the public sector can't deal with, i.e., the cops. So you can view it, and endorsing kind of vigilantism, I suppose you could view as socially conservative. I mean, the second one seems to be very much about the war on terror. And like the stuff about doing extraordinary rendition is really sketchy because it's shown as kind of like being a good thing. The surveillance state stuff and it's a bit sketchy as well. Yeah, I don't want to say too much because then people get really angry and just come and try and burn your house down. Doing politics on the internet is a very dangerous thing. So I'm sorry, Mark. I apologise. That's the best. This is the best I'm trying to say. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Look, I mean, I think it's open to interpretation a lot more than that. I think I mean, I know Batman is a billionaire. I mean, I suppose you could see it, like,
it's
people,
so careful. You got to be so careful.
because I know you could be so
Yeah.
careful because you also see him like inspiring uprisings and stuff, and you kind of go, well, is that a sort of people's revolt?
Well, again, there are
Is
so
that,
many.
you know,
Because like in Dark Knight Rises, like lots of comparisons. Bane's a fucking 99%er, isn't he? Like, and it's the bad guys are fucking are a version of the Occupy movement.
I know, and that's what I mean. It's just kind of I don't, I you know what I'm like. I try not to politicize everything and see everything through a political lens because I don't think that's helpful. And it's
in these, particularly. The
yeah.
second and third
I mean,
one,
look, you can't
so-
get away from it. By the same token, you can't completely divorce politics from everything. Don't get me wrong, but I sort of, it's a Batman movie. I mean, yes, it's there if you look for it. Fair enough, but I also
I would argue it's quite foregrounded, and I think the fact it's a Batman movie is kind of like, why is this here? Again, particularly the third one in particular, I think it's quite conservative, and I think it isn't so the second one. And I think when people say, well, conservative isn't represented in Hollywood narratives, and it's like it quite often is. But anyway, let's move on to the next super chat.
If you want, I mean, yeah, it's fair enough. I mean, I like I say, I think it is up. Like everything, you're the person it's going through. So if you see that, then fair enough.
There you go.
This is you're right.
Danger, Will Robinson.
Can of worms.
Yeah, indeed.
You're quite
I hope
right, and no
was,
one's wrong. And no one's wrong. I suppose my point is that if you see that, you're not wrong.
That being said, here's a list of people I think are rotten. No, that would be quite funny though. Just put
now we move on to wank. Liars. Is that irregularity?
Right, next super chat.
Speaking of which, the guy from Father Ted is in this. I said this when you were off changing your shirt again. The pilot from that episode where they're in the plane, he plays the judge.
Oh fuck! Yeah. The big ginger judge guy.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Okay, all right. Ring Coin Exchange. Was going to take 5 fans. Was going to type a funny message, but instead thought I'd be more sincere. Love you guys. Hopefully we'll get to meet you both in person, not in a Jed Maxwell way. What a lovely message from Ring Coin Exchange. Ring Coin Exchange, we love you, man. Ring Coin Exchange has been supporting us since the fucking beginning. He comes to bloody everything we do. You always put your hand in your pocket. You always represent. We love you too, man. Thank you.
Yeah, we do, man. And we really appreciate, I think Rob said to me, he was just like, bless him, Rob sent me an email. I think I said this before. He sent me a really sweet email in the same sort of vein. It was just like, but also hugely appreciative of the kind of community that we've got going on. And you guys are awesome. That those of you who pipe up, you're all very respectful. And I think that's rare on a YouTube channel. I don't know if it'll always be that way. I think if we do grow beyond small four walls, then
but these
we
people,
may involve.
You guys will still be in the middle.
Yeah, and you're the nucleus.
We are. When everyone's had their jabs, man, we'll finally do our meetup. Be so exciting to do.
Not long now.
Yeah,
in theory, like next month.
True that. Ivan's had his jab, the bugger.
Yeah. My wife's had the jab.
Get this, me and Ivan. I'm 1 week older than Ivan. Grew up in the same neighbourhood. Went to the same school. Live in the same house. He got his jab first. Not even been asked, the bastards. But I do. He seems to be doing all right. I keep checking in, making sure that he's not feeling Tom Dick, and he seems to be okay, which is good. Cause
what has he had?
He had the Pfizer one, so that seems.
Yeah.
To be
So
less.
my wife had the Pfizer one, and the first one she had just had a second one yesterday, and it really fucked her up. Whereas the first one just hurt, but this one is like, it's really like, she was streaming with cold and stuff last night and everything. So I believe it's the second jab that gets you with Pfizer, whereas I think it's the other way around with AstraZeneca.
Yes, my bro had AstraZeneca and he did not have a good time.
Yeah.
There's another super chat. Shit. MJ, do you want to read the newest one?
Yeah, sure. MJ1 Media. Michael Jackson 1 Media sends $5 and says, I have 2 Batman story ideas that would be great, but I'm going to make them part my own superheroes. As in,
so kind of, retool them into your own.
Fair enough. Also, I was surprised by Liam's role in this film. Surprised? Surprised in what way? Or just surprised by Liam? I don't know. I don't know what it means. Surprised maybe by the end that it was a twist. But good for you. Do it. Yeah, I mean, again, that's, Watchmen was that, wasn't it? It was them sort of saying, well,
I think of the Fawcett characters, I can't
make
remember,
it up.
but we'll just make our own. MJ1, yeah, man. Bin off Batman, make it your own thing. That would be really fucking cool. Go for it.
Do it. I'm all for, I'm always encouraging people, just go and do it. Just fucking go and do it. Don't, please have ideas. Please be smart before you take action. But take action. Make sure you take action. Make sure you follow through on the things you want to do, because before you know it, your life will be halfway done. And
MJ1 says, the twist in the end was what surprised him.
Oh, fair enough.
It's good. It's nicely done. Really nicely done.
I liked at the time to consider myself to be a fan of comics and stuff, and even the Dicky beard didn't. I thought like, Ra's al Ghul, like the people who follow Ra's al Ghul just do that with their beard. I didn't think, like, for some stupid reason, I wasn't like, he must be Ra's al Ghul.
I didn't know enough about Ra's al Ghul at the time to really know, because I was only just sort of really getting into my American comics, and I never really took to them in the biggest way anyway. This is the falling into the push-ups. This is great.
Oh yeah, you must be slightly behind me, I think, because I've just gone past that. But
no,
what's funny here is what's so notable about the way this does, because we suddenly drop into an exposition dump, don't we, very quickly about the machine. It's not EMP, is it? But it's like a.
Oh, it's an EMP, isn't it? It's an EMP, isn't it? No, because it's a microwave bomb, isn't it?
Microwave emitter, but it vaporizes water. But it's only so sort of jarring, because you've kind of spent this whole time like really just following loads of really great character stuff, and then suddenly it's like, we kind of need to move the plot along, so Act 2, everyone. It's like, right, okay, yeah, and it's like,
this is the
we lost the microwave, okay.
This is.
I love the way the dialogue as well. It's like they turned it on.
That's great. It's so good.
Yeah.
I like that. This is the kind of more Bondy stuff, though, right? Obviously Lucius Fox is very Q-like, but then this is kind of a Bond plot. It feels like, kind of do a thing to a city. And
one of the things, and I remember thinking this when I saw Dark Knight Rises, and one thing I'll give that film is it felt very tied to this film, and I really respected it for that, rather than just going for more of a Dark Knight thing.
If what had happened to Heath Ledger tragically didn't happen, they would have definitely done a more Dark Knight orientated third one.
Oh god, yeah. But I think what I really liked about it, though, is like when you see scenes like that, when they're kind of like, they're turning the machine on in the ship and it destroys the ship, is that's quite a Bane plot,
right? You
could see Bane behind something like that, and even though you don't obviously see him do it, it's like you wonder, did Bane do that? You can sort of see it in hindsight as being a kind of like, it's quite a grand scale thing. It's like hijacking a plane in midair and all that kind of thing. It's like it's quite clever. But yes, I love this stuff. This douchebag Bruce Wayne.
He's so
stuff,
good,
right?
Isn't it? Because I think this is the first time you see him portray, Bruce like that.
There's 3 identities. It's like Superman, isn't it? There's 3 identities. It's not 2 identities. There's 3. Yeah. There's who he really is, who we get to spend time with, and who we get to understand the process of. There is Bruce Wayne, the facade that he has to put on for everyone else, and then there's Batman.
They talk about, all the talk about masks in this.
Because they say that about us as people as well, isn't it? There's the you that you are that no one will ever know. There's the projection that you put out to the world and who you want to be seen as, and then there's who you are seen as, and there's lots of different versions of you in the world. There's infinite.
A great thing. A quick. Remember the phrase "goofs and suaves," and I'll read this super chat from Michael. Michael gives £10. Thank you, Michael. Hey lads, just adding to what others have said, this is a wonderful channel with chilled out and hilarious ethos. After weeks of endless work, it's great to relax and enjoy the painless jokes. Michael, you're a fucking G. You and Annalise, God love you. Thank you so much. You keep watching it, we'll keep doing it. Goofs and Suaves is a concept. Have you heard of the comedians? They're called Pappies. They've had a TV show. They're really funny guys.
That's right.
Anyway, they're funny. I've seen them live a few times. I haven't listened to their podcast, and they were talking the other day about the concept of goofs and suaves, right? And everybody is a goof or a suave, and it's kind of how it sounds. A suave is someone who's kind of effortlessly cool, and a goof is someone who's just silly and dopey and a bit clumsy. However, you can drill down into that because there are goofs that think they're suaves, and there are suaves that think they're goofs, which then makes them the other thing. But the thing is, if you're so much of a goof that you embrace it, you become a suave. But if you try too hard to be a suave, you look goofy. You see, I really like that. It's like
that circular thing. Yeah,
that kind of. There's a diagram there that sums up pretty much anyone you've ever met. I think it's this really neat way that really grabbed me the other day. I just think about identities and this. Is that Joe Martin?
Sorry, well, I don't know because I'm not.
She's the Arkham administrator that walks in with.
I wasn't watching. But yes, could be actually.
I'm fucking dude. I'm googling. I'm furiously googling.
I've got really itchy eyes because I took my water.
That was Joe Martin. Holy fuck!
Oh, very good.
Sorry, carry on. Yes, go on.
I took my daughter swimming earlier, and I've got chlorine eyes. Ugh. Sorry.
Take her to the pond next time. Don't get natural. Get a natural defences up. Put her with the frog spawn.
She lives with a cat and a dog, so she should have pretty good.
True that. Babies have they take sort of supernaturally, not like ghosts. Super naturally, not like with Wolfsbane.
Hypernaturally, I suppose.
Hypernaturally.
You might say yes. I mean, she's doing really well. She loves it. She loves some of the babies there because it was a special baby class, and some of the babies there hated it. But she loved it. She was all like, yeah. So she had a good old time. Anyway, I won't be one of those guys who bores you with baby stories, but yeah.
Good.
Because I know how annoying that is. Like when when people used to do that to me, and I was like, oh, shut up! I don't care.
I will never be that guy.
Yeah, there she is. Yeah, there's Joe Martin. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
right?
So it's yeah. That's her. I checked. I've done the due diligence on it. It is. How about that?
Very good.
There you go. Crazy. The once and future Doctor.
I mean, that's right.
She played the Doctor on Doctor Who briefly last season.
Very good.
So she's had a bit of a crazy career boost, I suppose.
I love that this must be part of the set as well, the Narrows set, right? Yeah, must be with him crouched on the thing. I love they do that really well. Which they never. They sort of do it in Dark Knight a bit, but they don't really. And it's like I miss this because it's like this is so iconic. The imagery, you need to have that Batman imagery in it, and I think from the Dark Knight onwards, we get lost more in telling a different story. It's like, oh yeah, it doesn't need to be a Batman story anymore. I don't know what that is. I don't know why it is that 99% of Batman movies they're trying not to make they're trying to make a different movie or a movie about something else. And it's true about like Superman as well. It's like why will you lot not just make the fucking movie? It's like you've got to no. It's actually about like the Joker or the villains or the I think
we seem to have only just come out the other side of the thing where you're embarrassed to make the film. We've talked about this before, like people embarrassed to make a Superman. I think they were highly embarrassed to make a Batman film for the longest time, but this did a very good job of pleasing those people who were probably people at Warner's, pleasing them with saying, oh, it's a serious crime film, but then also doing lots of Batman things and good Batman stuff and just having Batman in it. And okay, you have to justify why his ears exist and how his cape works, but ultimately you get Batman running around doing Batman stuff. It's not ashamed to be a Batman film.
I love that this is largely practical as well, and this is the great thing about building a city set.
It really triggers me how heartily he's eating that in the rain. That sickens me. It's like, dude, like
he's already hanging upside down in my one. Like, I might pause because I don't know.
No, don't worry about it. That just complicates things. Just let it roll.
Well, yeah, but then I can't. Like, when we're trying to describe the same thing, and it's not happening.
I know this film well. Oh no, don't worry.
All right, okay, right. Anyway, I paused it for a bit. Anyway, this is the beauty of it, just being able to put the camera wherever you want, and you can kind of do it practically because you can hide cranes and gimbals and whatever you need, like in the set, and it's just like Like this stuff of him just sort of going up and down. You can put the camera up and down in there. I love all that. And it's like, and once you sort of becomes Batman as well, like we kind of lose perspective on him, and that's a sort of good thing because we've had his perspective the whole time, and now it's about being put in this kind of put in the shoes of Gotham rather than Bruce Wayne. Even though when he's not Batman, we are in his shoes again. But it's like, do you know what I mean?
Well,
it's
yeah, because it's all about, the whole thing has been building up Batman as a concept and what Batman means, and then rather than continue from his perspective, you get to see that, as you've just astutely said, from Gotham's perspective or from these people's perspective, and you get to see more of what. That's what I like about that. It's become a cliche to sort of criticize Hans Zimmer's music, and I see the reasons why, but. What I like about it is particularly this kind of act break when it changes more turns away from Batman's perspective. I think the music really gives you a sense of there are things going on that you don't see and don't realize and don't understand. It's that driving, the kind of driving drums and ding 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 ding. You really feel like something's happening.
Yeah, because it's two composers, isn't it? It's Zimmer and someone else. It wasn't just Zimmer in this. And I think Zimmer was charged with scoring Batman and the more high-octane stuff, whereas the other director was sort of more character, I believe.
Right.
Now, this little shit's from
Game of Thrones,
right? And aren't the pajamas that are hanging on the line behind him in the rain? Someone should have taken those in.
They should have done.
Aren't they Batman pajamas or something? Which is a bit like...
Oh, God. It's like we've talked before, like, Superman... wearing his own face on his chest.
yeah.
Mike Flanagan, very generous with the super chats tonight, is asking you a question after them super chats.
Yeah, right. $5 do who's no more politics. I agree. I mean, I don't, because I study politics and I love politics and I love talking about politics. But when you talk about them in a public forum, it's just suicide, like for everything. So it's just let's not do it. Duncan, can you expand on what a Batman-centered Batman movie would be like? Maybe more like the cartoon show. I don't really know that I need to, because this is a Batman-centric movie.
Phantasm as well, would you say?
Yeah, Phantasm. Yeah, Phantasm does the same sort of job, but in a different way. It's a different take on the character, but it's like it's again very much Batman centric, and that's really, I think it's only those two films that I would say arguably were, not just talking about how the camel got his hump. It's not just like the mechanisms by which he became Batman. It's his it's the philosophy. It's pitting his. It's watching him cobble together his philosophy as he does his suit and everything else at the same time as he's, because that's the other thing. Again, it's that sort of like, he's putting this together, but it's based on what he needs to show people. It's not based on, yes, I know it's like, okay, he needs to be bulletproof or stab proof and he needs to be able to glide or at least jump off of buildings. But it's more about what he needs to do as an idea, not what he needs to do practically, even though there are practicalities involved, of course. But and so I think this and Phantasm are really the only times that they've done that. I think otherwise it's been sort of fairly procedural, and I include the Dark Knight, gets a lot of the credit for sort of being the one that's like, oh, it's Batman being tested and his ideas being tested. And it's like, yeah, they are, but in quite a it's a complicated plot in a way, but in terms of the philosophical battles that are going on, they are more overt. They're not, this does that just as much, I would argue, and probably better in that I think it embodies them a lot better.
I think the thing about the Dark Knight is, because it blew me away when I watched it, and it was like the most amazing thing I'd ever seen and stuff. It does suffer from that thing of like quite a lot of it doesn't make sense and relies. It's a cliche to say it, but it relies on coincidence. Like this is so much smarter as a script because everything's there for a reason. Where like the Joker problem is like, well, Joker knew that he would fart at 7:15, which would be, or whatever. And it's just like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
As soon as you see it through that lens, it gets about 40% less good.
Well, I sort of lose perspective again. I think I've that's been a recurring theme for me actually since we started this channel, is talking about perspective. But it's like this, you can kind of like we were saying, you can identify when you're being put in Bruce Wayne's perspective, when you're being put in the perspective of someone else, and it's like in Dark Knight, I think we lose that a bit. It's not clear to me which Bruce Wayne I'm looking at sometimes.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and I know that's deliberate. I don't say this to say that I think they made mistakes. I think it's choices that are made deliberately.
Yeah, I don't. You could never call that like a stupid or an incompetent film. I don't think.
Oh God, no. I suppose because I love what this film did so much. I kind of wanted that to be more of the same, and it wasn't. But that's okay. That's not. I don't lose sleep over it. It's fine. It's all good.
They're coming thick and fast tonight. Sean Northridge, €5. Another comics creator, Sean Northridge, working on a comic called Red Creek, and you can follow his Instagram. If you put your handle in the chat there, Sean. I follow Sean, but I don't know people's handles off the top of my head. Apart from yours, because it's written on the screen. Do you think Batman works better alone in stories or with the whole Bat family? And who would you like to see on screen we haven't got yet? I quite like. I like this. This is the thing. Batman's such a broad church. I like this because it's just Batman, right? And I like these are good stories to tell. But then I also I thought the Batman the Brave and the Bold cartoon was so good because it went in completely the other direction and just went completely Silver Age bananas and had adventures in space and Detective Chimp and all that stuff. And I think they did everything. They did everything, every conceivable weird character and stuff, which I really liked. And every game has had up to Damian Wayne as Robin and stuff like that. So I don't know, Sean. I've watched a lot of Batman stuff, so I don't know who we haven't had yet. I mean, aren't we getting Condiment King in that Suicide Squad movie? I think we're gonna have had everybody.
I mean it's fine to do it, but do it for a reason. Don't just do it because you're like, oh yeah, I'm referencing a thing. It's I know, but not
that's
if you're
why
just
Brave and the Bold was so good, wasn't it? Because it was all lived in and it knew it was doing. It wasn't just trying to be clever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because when it's kind of oh yeah, so that the third guy in the background at the ketchup factory was Condiment King because you can see his name on the badge. It's are you going anywhere with that? Why? Someone had to make that badge. What? What, we getting a Condiment King film?
I love that bit there where it's you get to see how the entrance to the Batcave is hidden, but it's kind of thrown away because he just goes pling plonk. He plays some awful out of tune notes
it's
on it.
It's a nicely comic booky thing, isn't it? That he actually does the piano and that feels very unashamed, which is lovely. The kind of and it's kind of dopey. I didn't say earlier when he gets dosed by the Scarecrow. There's that insane fucking full body burn stunt where the guy goes out the window. There's all that coverage of him falling, and it's just you can't underestimate those stunts, man. They're so dangerous. I mean, you can get burned, but also there's no oxygen when you're on fire and stuff there's so much going on.
So we spoke to I did a short film years ago. When we were in the midst of doing Maleficent, we ended up having an unexpected break, and I was staying with my friend at the time who lived in a warehouse. Don't ask. Big, huge factory that was just empty.
Sweet.
And we were oh yeah, and we were we should make a short film because we were sat around in the catering tent, sweltering heat, covered in armor and stuff, going, should we just fucking make a film? And they were like, yeah. So Aaron Sangster, who is a director, who was also, we were all just extras effectively in that. We were sort of. We were casual throwaway stunt people essentially because they trained us up enough to be able to sword fight and take falls and stuff, but we weren't stunt people. So make of that what you will. Anyway, we thought, okay, well let's just write something around that. So Aaron, bless him, wrote essentially the script. I don't know, he must have done it overnight considering how little turnaround we had. And it was yeah, we'll all meet there tomorrow and we're going to shoot this thing. I've got a makeup artist who will come and do the makeup and we're going to do it. And we did it, and it's called God's Gift.
Is it viewable somewhere?
Yes, I think it's on YouTube. I think you see it on YouTube.
Super interesting. You could do that.
And it's me. You can probably tell that I'd watched Bronson recently because I was sort of doing this. Oh, I'm gonna fucking kill you. But it was me in a ski mask for a lot. But basically me torturing Matt, who was the other actor, who absolutely deserved it because he's a mad Welsh bastard.
Well, shit! Can you imagine just sat on production value? Just live in a warehouse. It's amazing. That
was it. We were just we have to write things around this because it's fucking cool. So yeah, we got a lot of shots in that. I think we got a shopping trolley and put the camera in it. And Andre did the camera work. Andre's great, and we just cobbled together this little short film. And I think it works okay. But but that's I can't remember. Oh yeah, so the full. That's right. So one of the things that happens in it is that my character douses the other one in petrol. and threatens to set light to him, and also carves his name in his forehead and stuff. And there was talk, we were sort of having ideas about doing a full body burn, and we of course were on a major Hollywood production with stunt people, and we spoke to them. We said, like, look, can you guys do full body? Because we said to them, well, look, we're thinking of doing this, but blah blah blah. And they were like, oh yeah, cool. They were like, yeah, you could do that. And we were like, how would you do like a full, like, how would you do a full body burn, bearing in mind the character's in like pants and a vest? And they were like, yeah, you can do it, but they were like, but you'd have to like blah 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 blah. They were like, we could do that, like, we'll do it for you if you want, because they were on a break as well. And we were like, fucking hell. And the people were like, how much is that going to cost us? And they were like, look, we won't charge you for our time, but it's still going to cost about 1,500 quid, because we still need to like buy all the shit. Yeah. We'd have to have certain things made that were breakaway, because it's like you basically you cover yourself in a gel. Yeah. Basically, that's why like you see it a lot. Like a Hard Target's the one I reference a lot, because Lance Henriksen does it with his burning coat, but his hair looks really slicked back because it's full of like fire retardant gel. But you literally cover your whole body, so you can do it like pretty much naked. I gather you can, as long as
like you say, you do see it in those scenes where someone naked gets set on fire. They're suddenly really slimy because of the gel they put.
Exactly, which you cannot get away from. But they were like, we could do that. You'd have to be covered in the gel, and you'd probably have to do it from quite a distance, because obviously we wouldn't look like Matt. But they were like, yeah, you can do it, but it's not. It's the gel, but it's also the fact that you then have to have so much safety stuff in place. So I think part of that cost would involve like having fire, like someone from the local fire brigade on hand, and various, because you cannot take any chances that's not going to come out.
Yeah, because they've gone so horribly wrong before. It's a huge undertaking.
Oh god, yeah. You bearing in mind you are essentially risking killing someone and burning them to death. You know, it's not. It ain't. You don't fuck around. There is no room for error. So that's why, you know, there's lots of cost involved. But and normally these guys, honestly, to do that kind of stunt, you'd be getting paid. I can't remember what it was now, because there were various, because we were kind of close to the stunt guys on those films. I remember on Snow White, some guy did I don't think it's in the film. It's really annoying, because we did this thing where it was like they got doused in oil and then set fire to. And there was one shot of a guy who'd been covered in oil, getting hit with a burning arrow and falling off the balcony. And he got hit, obviously set fire to, and then fell off this. But it did a burning fall off a balcony. So very similar to that. There's Tar Batman, by the way. It looks really good. So cool. It looks so good. I love that as well. That was one of my favorite parts of the film. I was like, oh my god, that's so fucking cool. Yeah, like, so when he did that, and I think he got paid like $3,000 a time, like, to do it, and they did however many takes, and he probably pocketed like $9,000 or something. But it was like, fair enough, because you are risking. There was stories. Someone told me a story on that. So I think it was on that set. He said like there was a guy who did a fall, didn't land properly, injured his neck, walked it off, and sort of said, "I'm fine." Signed a disclaimer, went home, like just stretched his neck, and something snapped, and he was paralyzed from the neck down. And he had signed away all of it, so he got no money, he got nothing, and it was just like. And even if that's not true, I don't know, but it's like those are the kind of stories that make you go, "Yep, I'm gonna you know." Well, I think $3,000 is
the
fair enough.
The Resident Evil movies have a body count.
Really?
Yeah, and I do believe someone was killed, someone was paralyzed, I think, as well.
Well, this didn't they? It was Rises or Dark Knight, or maybe both, had stunt people killed on them.
Yeah, that sounds.
I think familiar. It was Dark Knight, wasn't it? One of the camera crew crashed, I think. A car.
That would make sense in that movie as well, because fucking hell, Jesus Christ, it's got Blues Brothers level across these movies. Blues Brothers level of car destruction.
Well, this one has it in a minute.
Yeah, the tumbler. What do you think about the tumbler as a thing?
I love it. I think it's fucking awesome.
Yeah, to me, because again, I was being a very mature, clever boy, and I just read Dark Knight Returns, and it was sort of like a tank, and they call it a tank, so it's kind of like, yeah, this is cool, and it makes sense as a thing. You know, and
yeah, context is king, like you said. I mean, I don't think it works again when Snyder does it.
Yeah, exactly, in the right place. You know.
Yeah.
Or as they put it in Team America, you've got to know to fuck when you can only fuck when it's appropriate, or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, the scene here is this is from Batman Year One, so he's got the kind of bat summoning device. So in this day and age, it would be either Leonardo DiCaprio pointing meme, or Captain America. I get that reference meme was me at the time.
Right. Okay.
Also, yeah. Oh, I haven't really said, but Gordon. Gordon was normally portrayed as kind of old dude, and this is kind of more the younger Sergeant Gordon type era, and he just looks great. Like you're saying earlier about his silhouette and stuff. Pat Hingle did nothing as Gordon. Like to a degree,
shame,
Michael Gough as well. Like as brilliant as he is, like him as Alfred doesn't really do much, does he? To be honest, like
no, he sort of totters around in the background.
Tosses out a bit of wisdom.
Lets Vicky Vale in.
Yeah.
He's sort of always letting people in who he shouldn't, and then it's a sort of. I think he's fine in the first one. I'd like him in Returns.
I think he has less and less to do. I think
Yeah.
Pat Hingle in particular, fucking Gordon gets the shortest of short fucking shrifts in those movies. Jesus
God,
Christ.
yeah. Especially come Batman and Robin, it's like, what is this?
It's like is it Batman and Robin, or I think it might be Batman Forever. Well, I think he basically just waves at Batman when he flies his plane past.
In Batman Forever he does that, and Batman does I did this. I went through a period. I'm not proud, but I went through a period doing this in cars, like going past. Because my friend, one of my best friends, he's wealthy and he likes his cars, and he has very nice cars. And obviously, when you pass people, they look at you. And I was the scrub, right? I was the Destiny's Child,
Great
passenger side of his best friend car.
Great ref.
And I'd sort of just go like, I'd do the Batman text, so it was like, I'd be in the passenger seat going past them, and I'd just do the whole... Because that's what he does.
He really does though, and it's so dumb. It's great.
Yeah. See, this is such a great reveal as well. Like, I'll give my car, it's like, I brought mine. And it's just like, boom, and the lights turn on.
That's because that's the other thing. I think probably because it's the way these wore on, and they get kind of remembered as being really self-serious, and it's not. It's quite snappy, and it's got a lot of kind of wit to it. It's quite fun.
I've got to get me one of those. Like there's the line. There's a snappy dialogue. It's a black dick. I thought when I first saw this, I thought it said it's a black dick.
It's a black dick. Oh, are you okay? He just called in a black dick.
Dispatch. Did you say black dick? This has it's again, like, obviously Chris Nolan does a lot, and I believe this film was one of the first instances of using the Russian arm to capture this. So it was a very early use of it anyway, and it was like one of the first times you could actually film a car chase at speed. So that's one of the reasons why they built the Tumbler from the ground up. This is the first Batmobile that was purpose built, which is why it has the. I know Richard just thinks this is a scene about some.
They're just sat in chairs. This is, but then halfway through, Batman lies down.
Yeah,
he's on his tummy.
He's on his tummy, and then things explode.
I thought he was also Superman when I watched this. I like how he stops on top of this building that, like, those buildings that are just empty all the time with no windows.
Yes, of course. Yeah, with different levels.
Yeah, it just has a sign outside that says park. But I always sit and go, that's not a park.
Or lot, if you're in America.
I don't know who plays there. Welcome to a joke from a month ago.
It's a funny thing that he reverses into a compact thing, but then he sort of drives out of it. And I'm like, I thought you did that to get more of a run up. Why did you move out of the space? But there's some quite good miniature work here, but it is quite clearly miniature work. Like and I always find that a bit weird. It's like, they make the car jump on the roofs and stuff, and it's like, I'm not quite sure why we do that.
Yeah, I guess they have to sell the whole bridge hopping thing, don't they? Like they have to sort of justify that's the thing.
Well, because it's supposed to be a bridge making vehicle, isn't it? So it can jump ravines and tow cables behind it. So why it needs guns on the front of it, I've no idea. But
I mean, this is the thing that's kind of, you were talking about, touch this earlier. It's unclear, because I suppose it is supposed to be military, but it is unclear what is the off the shelf version and what optional extras Batman has added.
Well, and that's a problem that much more so appears in The Dark Knight. Like, I really don't like the fact that
it's got a fucking motorbike in it, apparently.
And a self-destruct. It's like, well, I guess if it's, don't get me wrong, if it's prototype military technology, I can buy that, because it's like, well, yeah, you want a self-destruct to stop it falling into enemy hands. Okay,
not a very good self-destruct, because it just kind of goes, And it's like, was that like Cementos and Pepsi? Like, what was? Because it's a really underwhelming, like, yeah. And it's like, that's still there.
Yeah.
They can still go and look at it and go, oh, who built this
I think
fucking
it
thing?
turns upside down, and it's just like, yeah, just because it's upside down doesn't mean they don't. See this bit? Look, he launches like explosive tombolas, and it's like, look at that car pirouetting. It's like, don't tell me they're fine.
They're fine. They had their seatbelts on because they're cops. They're responsible. They need to put their seatbelts on. They're definitely dead. They're so dead. Don't worry, those guys were just paralysed. This is morally fine.
Well, again, but I know it's sort of saying something about the character in that he is now being reckless because Rachel's in danger, and this is a lesson he has to learn: is that you can't just go off on one because someone you care about is live by your own rules. You're a legend. You're not a person. If you're a legend, you shouldn't. I love it. It's like stealth mode engaged. It's like you just turn.
I love that. And the helicopter's like, bah! It's like that's the ninja version of a Groucho Marx disguise. It's just like, well done. Like, I get it.
I remember thinking that was so cool as well. That bit where the cop's like looking for him, and it just goes past, and all you see is the silhouette, but the back of it looks like it's got the bat fins on it,
right?
Because of all the aero stuff that's on the back of the car, the fins and stuff. When it goes past in silhouette, it looks like Batman.
It's very Batman appropriate to ninja your car. I get it. I'm not,
Yeah.
But it's the way the helicopter can't look at it anymore because it's in stealth mode. So hold on, it's still there. It's not invisible. I mean, I can't see it, obviously. But
all that seemed to entail was turn the headlights out and
well,
brake.
Yeah, and the helicopter loses it. It's like, well, hold on, is this a top tip against all police helicopter chases? Just like, could I turn my bike lights off? And just thinking, to see it.
I saw the soundstage where they did that with the waterfall and the car because it's at Shepperton that, and I've done stuff at Shepperton, and that's I know they built because a lot of these sound stages have giant doors like hangars that you can open. So I think they did. I gather they did that and then had it jump ramp outside in through the door. That's nice because
it's a nice kind of grounded version of the hidden entrance to the Batcave. It's a waterfall, but sometimes it's a hologram or a giant boulder, or they do the kind of thing. So that works. It's nice.
All valid. I mean, I quite like that bit in the Burton film where it's like we're just driving up to a brick wall and then suddenly it just isn't there. Although that film does say it's a retracting thing because like when you see the reverse shot of a thing coming down and closing, and it's like, did it just go?
Well, in the versions where it's a hologram, it's like, well, because sometimes you just see them like drive for a hologram or whatever, and it's like, yeah, but have a gate as well. I mean, I know that's really clever, but if you could just walk through it, you should have a gate too. Like,
because a road does lead to it.
Yeah.
So
like, unless you're trying to fool fucking Wile E. Coyote, I think you might be in trouble. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing you miss here is it's like okay, this was hidden under Wayne Manor, and it was part of the Underground Railroads and all this kind of thing. But it's like, but there's a waterfall with a road that needs to walk. Why does the road go there?
This road was built. We used to jump our horse and cart out of here to take the slaves to the Underground Railroad through the waterfall or something.
It's a bit like, but fair enough.
I always think because this so, and it's not really that kind of soundtrack, which is fine, and I'm totally for that. But Batman doesn't have a theme. I mean, he does technically, but I don't know what Batman's theme is for this.
Where's that? Dun dun dun.
Oh, you're right. I'm just an ignorant. I've been ignorant. I just forgot it. Yeah, and it's actually really. Furthermore, it's really good. Look, the news camera could see the car.
Right. Zimmer said, I think that it's a two-note motif. Cambridge is alive tonight.
I live on a main road, Joe.
Yeah. No, it's a two-note motif. So it's that dun dun. Everything works in two notes, and so it's that dun dun which he did for Superman as well. Superman's is ascending, Batman's is descending. Right. So it's that, which is not, it's hardly, but fair enough. He does it effectively.
No, you're right. I've been ignorant. Put my hands up. I was wrong. Also wrote the theme tune for Going for Gold. Hans Zimmer. That's actually true. And the Doctor Who tie-in single as well, he wrote. Like, it's fucking weird.
He's just been everywhere, really Zimmer. Not really.
Oh, dude, he was the keyboard player in the Buggles on Vijay Killed the Radio Star. It was Hans Zimmer.
Oh, right, okay.
Oh shit, that was supposed to be a risky quizzes question. I wrote it down, everything. Bollocks. Just forget that. Just how much you had to drink? drink more and give you some head injury.
I'll drink some of this perfume.
Please don't do that. That would be...
Like,
Right, when coming...
what is that? What's that Father Jack thing where he goes, oh, what is it? I can't remember what it is he drinks. Oh, that's really gonna bug me. He like basically picks up this bottle that, like, it's like super glue or something like that, just snaps the top off and goes drinks that. Sorry. Anyway.
When Comic Exchange said something very, very early on in the stream, like before we even started the movie, that I've been meaning to bring back up, and we're nearly at that scene, but I'll bring it up now because he makes a really good point. Remember the woman who kind of goes, "Have you met Ra's al Ghul?" and like turns around. Who the fuck is she? Like, it's such a weird delivery, and she seems to be like this mannequin that's just stood there to introduce Ra's al Ghul in this kind of Colonel Sanders accent. Like, have you met Ra's al Ghul? And you've never seen her before, and you never see her since.
It's this film's version of Gossip Gertie, isn't it? Who was Bob Kane's wife, who was in Batman Forever and Batman.
Right.
But it is that, like, now am I pronouncing this right, Mr. Ra's al Ghul? It's like, yeah, and like annoyingly, right? Like, it's like,
are you like this all the time? Like all the time?
And then she does it in a really creepy way, because then she sort of goes,
yeah, exactly. Like she might as well be on casters, and someone just wheels her out. Like after it's this really weird
not
performance.
Needed anymore. She died on the way to her own planet. and it is kind of like what if unless she's a plant by Ra's al Ghul, then what's Liam Neeson been saying to her? Like, has he been the life of the party up until that point? Just so that, because she goes, you simply must meet him, and it's like,
yeah.
Why?
Like, what was he lighting his farts on fire? Like, what was he doing that fucking?
Mr. Ra's al Ghul.
You simply got to meet him.
But it isn't him, is it? It's that guy. It's like fake Ken Watanabe.
Yeah. It's not even Ken Watanabe. It's the double fake Ra's al Ghul.
He's got the blue flower on his collar.
Though. He's got the standard issue beard.
Only there just so that he can appear behind him and go, and they both fuck off together. Okay, fair enough. So the lady and the fake Ra's al Ghul piss off together. It does imply
that she's League of Shadows, and that's her job. It's to sort of double cross people at dinner parties. That's not even the real one.
Well, I mean, I don't. Again, I think it's a bit of a stilted delivery, but I do think it works in the context of that, even though I think that's a bit hokey. But yeah, it's a Badagoo. This is like, all right. I mean, fair enough.
No.
Right. Are his methods supernatural?
The real Ra's al Ghul is the friends you made along the way. He should do. I think he should produce a coin from behind Bruce Wayne's ear, then tell him he's got his nose, and maybe pull some hankies out of his sleeve. His methods were supernatural.
Yeah,
this is great.
So he goes, amusing but pointless. Like, yeah, I love all this stuff because I mean, and it is like, because I know they said, I think Chris Nolan and I think Burton said this as well. It's like they have this real hard on for destroying the Batmobile. And they were saying, like, oh, we wanted to destroy the Batmobile in this film. And instead they destroy Wayne Manor, obviously. Like which is kind of like...
You only just introduced it. Like,
basically, it's like a kind of Dark Knight Rises should be the next thing, but whatever. But yeah, it's a... I do like that. I love all that sort of kind of like, stop smiling. It's not a joke. Get out.
Drunk arsehole acting. Really good. Really.
Well, it's not just that. It's an extra level, isn't it? It's a not drunk man deliberately acting drunk in order to send people.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, sorry, like in character, it's drunk arsehole acting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because he has to humiliate himself. It's not even humiliation. He has to kind of show.
It's that extra layer. It doesn't have to be authentic drunk acting. Because he's not, so it's like it's a purpose, and it's yeah. I mean, I think that's absolutely right. I think it's I've done drunk acting before, and it's not easy.
Just get drunk.
But,
that's what I do. I don't act. Just have a drink problem. It's easier. So because Zaz is in this, isn't he? Victor Zaz, because he's on trial earlier, and then he's in Arkham and stuff.
I remember people like speculating that because when Batman runs through Arkham Asylum earlier, and it's like you see through all the windows, and there's all this passing shots of inmates, and they're like, "That's the Penguin, that's the Joker, that's the." And it's like, no, they're just inmates.
I bet it isn't though. Is it though? I bet it's not though. Is it though? It's
Probably
not though.
not.
Is it though?
It's not.
Is it though? It's not though.
That's one of those like fucking means that. It's like, it doesn't mean that. Like, stop fucking fighting.
It's a reference to Condiment King's auntie. It's like, well, dude, like this is this. Maybe our channel should be that. Perhaps we should be doing the sweet, sweet Condiment King's auntie money. So we get them clicks, son. But there's Zaz, and I'm probably behind you again. He has the tallies carved into his skin as well.
Oh yeah, he's got all that.
It's all proper.
And it was in the. I remember the computer game. Victor Saz was like
that was supposed to be kind of like not amazing but fairly decent, right? The computer game.
I think it was a reskinned. There was another Batman game, a Batman animated series game that came out that I also had that basically played exactly the same. But it was but it wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad game.
Yeah, I remember people like it's one of these things because that was the era of the movie tie-in, and it's kind of like, hey, this one's not that bad. I think because did that have everybody in it, or like it had everyone except Bale? Did it? Or
no, Bale did it.
Bale did it. Okay.
Because there was a behind the scenes thing on the game as well. You could see them do the voice acting and stuff, and Bale did it. Because famously, I think, what was it? It was a Montreal? Was it a Montreal? No, it was an Australian studio got bankrupted making the Dark Knight game.
Yes, that's right. There are some deep dive videos about that, and it seems like because they were going for a sort of open worldy thing, and it would have beaten the Arkham games to the punch in that respect, which is quite interesting.
Yeah,
I think that's the formula. You got to have an open world game for Batman or Spider-Man. It's perfect. We've long since cracked that, but it's perfect. Give you a city to run about in, and
I wish they would do like a proper one because we never really got. I mean, I played Arkham City, and I saw a bit of Arkham Knight.
Arkham Knight, was the last one.
But I don't know if Arkham Knight is this, but there isn't one where it's just Gotham. It's like Gotham Under Siege or Gotham in a thing, and it's
Arkham Knight is it. You are in Gotham proper in Arkham Knight.
Okay,
but it's kind of a war zone, so it's not like. So I gather with the Spidey game, you run around solving day-to-day crime and stuff on top of the rest of your workload, and Arkham Knight is just dogged with these dreadful driving sections where there's like racing bits and there's kind of the Batmobile as a tank, and they're really fucking boring. And someone made a mod to take them out. In fact, they just make they just make the whole game grind to a halt. Beautiful looking game, love it, a really cool game, but it just grinds to a halt every time you get in a fucking car section. It's not even.
Or in your case, floating down the road.
I just don't understand why he's floating down the road. I like it when he floats with his cape, but when he floats in the seated position, it just freaks me out, man. I'm not into it.
Sorry, just to interject, we got £5 from Simon Pope on PayPal.
PayPal.
Which is a lot of alliteration. He says, no questions or requests, just a thank you to you guys for what you do.
Oh, thank you, Simon.
Well, I scratch my bum in the morning and sniff my fingers. So if that's what you're thanking me
I
for.
also scratch his bum and sniff my fingers. Simon's a local boy.
But before he wakes up.
He's a local boy. Locals.
Oh, is he? Oh,
yeah.
Oh, good.
Not going to dox him. Don't know where he lives. But I'm not going to dox him. But yeah, local boy.
I love that guy. I love that bit with Alfred. It's just like, I hope you're not a member of the fire department.
And the fact it's an old geezer in Tales of a Golf Club. It's a
golf club, yeah.
Do you know? I am being serious here, because we've had Cockney Alfred in the Gotham show with the wonderful Sean Pertwee, and he does call people slags and stuff like that in it. Alan Ford as Alfred. That would be my Alfred. I love Alan Ford Alfred.
I could see him doing
it. Dude, I am being serious as well, because Alan Ford is normally brought up for lols, but I want to fucking see Alan Ford as Alfred. Terrifying Alfred.
I would have loved... Yeah, but he is... Okay, firstly, Alan Ford is a lovely guy. Because I have met him, and he's a sweetheart bloke. He is just a lovely dude. I 100%... I know he's got this thing of being an intimidating bastard gangster guy, and he's very good at that. But it's dude, I can totally see him pulling off an Alfred. Maybe now, but certainly
Casey sees Ford pulling off Alfred. Sorry, there's no one letting you get away with that. Absolutely not.
But no, I do. I reckon I could see that. Like, hell yeah.
There you go.
I mean, so you could do the comic thing of like, why bats, Master Wang?
There you go.
Or,
Hey, look.
yeah.
Well, he's getting on, isn't he? He must be.
I hope you're a member of the fire department.
See, that is great alone. I'll take that.
All those fucking push-ups. You can't even lift a cunting log.
A cunting log.
You would have to get the C word in there.
Of course.
Father's listening, but
I think it's a bit late for your dad. He said the kind of filth that's come up, mostly from me, probably, when your dad's in the room. But,
yes. Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers. Yeah, well, because obviously, Alan Ford is linked to The Exorcist because he was in whatever the prequel thing is called.
Yeah, two versions of it, so I don't know which one he was in.
The cunting word is used, and then I found it very disconcerting. We went and saw the stage play of The Exorcist when it was on a few years ago. My wife just turned around to me when I booked tickets to go to The Exorcist. I was like, all right.
Okay,
and then she was
enough.
like, what do you mean, like the film? And she was like, I was like, cool, let's go see. Where are they playing that? And she was like, no, it's theatre. And I was like, oh. And it turned out it was a good time, man. It was a good time. And Ian McKellen was the voice of the devil, or whatever, which is really weird. But then he got to deliver that thing where it's like, your cunting daughter. And I was like, because for the first time as well when I was watching, I was like, why is, because he's not there, obviously, it's pre-recorded, but I was like, why is the voice of Pazuzu or whatever his name is?
That is fabulous actor. Unusual choice.
Yeah, I was like, what? But I was going, who was doing that voice, doing an impression of Ian McKellen, and then I was like, oh, it is Ian McKellen. Okay, fair enough. And it was just like, oh, hello, Reagan. I'm going to do a thing and a bad thing, and I'm a naughty man. Or whatever. It was like,
naughty man. Your mother sucks cocks in hell. I'm a naughty man.
She's in hell with us. It was like, all right. It was Magneto, basically.
How long ago was that then? I didn't realise there was a stage show of The Exorcist.
I want to say must have been about 2 or 3 years ago. We went and saw that. Yeah, it was good times, man. It was fun.
Yeah, no, I'm not really a theatre guy. When I do go, it's normally something trashy, like Book of Mormon. Obviously, I went and saw, which I thought was fucking amazing.
I love theatre, I do, but I have to say, and I love, especially the West End, because it is real. Like, and I've done theatre in London, and I've enjoyed doing it as a performer as well. But my heart is in film. Film is my thing. But it's more the fact that I have to go to London, have dinner somewhere, fuck around,
dude,
like
you have a piss in the West End, it costs you 50 quid.
Yeah, well, obviously, yes, it costs a load of money as well. You're spending hundreds of pounds to essentially sort of, and they have to be very careful. But I get it because they are very expensive to put on, so I do understand it. But it's like you sort of have to think, at what point is this? It can't be as mass consumed as movies. It just can't be.
Yeah, it's not possible, is it? I mean, it's just.
Nah.
And
it's a shame. Because then it does become quite an elitist thing. Although there is a democratization of it in a way. But
the thing now is, a lot of theatrical stuff is played to cinemas live, and that started pre-pandemic as well. So that's good.
I do love that because I do think that is a great way to kind of, and I hope there's more uptake in that because I do think there's.
It seems to be fairly popular. Like the National Theatre do quite a lot to the cinema chains. I think on Monday afternoons, and it seems fairly popular. It has been for a while. And I think quite a lot of that is people, for example, with accessibility issues and stuff, different stuff like that, because it's very difficult to get all the way down to London and things like that. So it seems to get a lot of uptake, which is nice. And like you said, just democratise it, and it's not as expensive either. It's the price of a movie ticket, I guess.
Which I think is I really like that because I think that's a really And because I want to keep theatre alive, I do think it's a really wonderful thing, and I don't want it to sort of die off. And I don't think it is in danger of that. I think it's always been oversubscribed for a long time, But I also don't, I sort of do lament the fact that the Harry Potter theatre thing is on.
Right.
Like, okay. I mean, fine, because people go, all right, whatever. It's not my thing. It's fair enough.
I think it's really, I think it's really, really nice having that available to more people in a broader way, to have that kind of art form come to a bigger audience, but ultimately I don't watch them because plays are boring and weird and stupid and for pretentious cunts. No, not really. I was just dying to say that. I didn't mean that at all. I didn't mean
I love
that at all.
That stuff earlier of the like when they're talking like there's no one left on because this Nolan does this with the third one as well, is trap the cops in a place.
That's a huge part of the third one as well.
It's a huge part of the third one, but in this he sort of does it as well because all the cops are trapped on the other side and Gordon's just the only one on the island, right? And he's just like there's no one left to send in, and then obviously the tumbler goes flying through the thing, and I think that's really cool.
It's a great setup. Yeah, it's a great kind of mini. It's kind of a mini Escape from New York, isn't it? At the end of the movie.
Yes, yeah. But it's also kind of like it's Batman and Gordon, right? It's a good way of isolating them and giving them the kind of.
It kind of crams in this kind of fun little buddy cop thing, and it's a great. That's what I sort of like about this kind of fusion Gotham, where it's London, US, Hong Kong, like. It is kind of like something you've never seen before, and the fact that the Narrows is this kind of little slum island that it's possible to isolate like that. It's like because it's not like it's not supposed to be the size of Manhattan or anything like that, but it's just kind of it's believable as a real place that also doesn't exist because it's such a strange fusion.
Well, it's
styles
built.
And stuff.
I love that it's built as a set because I just think that gives it so much.
It makes it three-dimensional, doesn't it?
100%. It's like it's got all these wires and these cables and stuff hanging over it. And you can put the camera anywhere, and it's just everything looks unique and different. And I think I love it as a sort of.
This is fuck tons better than The Dark Knight, man. It really, really is.
I think so, man.
Really
like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Not that I don't like The Dark Knight, but I just think this. I love this bit where he's just like, a bit literally. Again, characters with face masks, but the whole
thing. He's got a kind of Mortal Kombat one on as well.
yeah. Well, they all do, I think. And it's just where he goes, "I can't beat two of your pawns." It's like, as you wish. And
the others come down.
But I love again. It's like it's clever. Like, I mean, again, say what you will about The Dark Knight Rises, and I don't think it's a great film, but I do think that the study of Bane on a Ra's al Ghul scale, because it's like the way Ra's al Ghul is very much what Bane is. It's those sort of like when he goes, "I can't beat two of your pawns." He's like, "As you wish," and like that's the kind of thing Bane would say, right?
Yeah.
He'd say it like
and it's
that
all
as
about
well.
Bane's all about strategies, and that's what this is. I mean, you're totally right. I think it does, and I did appreciate linking back to this first film, and it feels like a partner to it. It's just unfortunately it's this kind of bloated woolly mess, which is a real shame. Because if you had that kind of, if they told that story with the focus of the second one, it would be something really special, probably. It just kind of feels like, because what I hate about that is kind of like, when it's coming out, it's like the end of the saga, the epic story concludes, and it's like it doesn't, though, does it? I mean, your new star very sadly died, and you can't continue the story you probably had, and even then, I would argue there's not. I think the end of The Dark Knight puts quite a good button on this anyway, because the point is that the Joker and Batman will be locked in that forever. And they don't even have a line in the third one saying what's happened to the Joker, because they set up like his ultimate nemesis is kind of like, he's in Gary, Indiana now. There's a callback to the Mortal Kombat movie. There's no concept of what's happened to him or anything, and it's just, and it really felt like, Christopher Nolan's heart wasn't in it, was it? And I don't blame him. But I feel like he wasn't mad keen about doing it. He didn't want to be that guy. And and
it's the same stuff. Why do we have to make it a trilogy? It's like it is a difficult third act. Fucking,
you just have to, don't you? You have to, and then that's what annoys me. And I think Warner Brothers are quite guilty of this because they've always, Warner Brothers have kind of positioned themselves as the prestige studio, and as well they might with all the things they've made. But it's like, oh no, we have to do a trilogy, and then their justification for it being a trilogy is that but that's because this is high art. This is a high art product, so it's a trilogy. It's thematic.
And that's
trilogy.
What the Dark Knight did to this, and it's like this still feels like a Batman film.
Yeah.
Whereas that just, and I love the. Don't get me wrong, like I do love the Dark Knight, but this still feels like a Batman film, whereas that doesn't. And it's partly because we spend most of this in Batman's shoes, but it's also because that film does descend into a sort of way more like. I won't call it pretentious because I don't think all that stuff is unwarranted or unwieldy or wrong. I just think it's it starts to stop being entertaining for me in a way that this doesn't. Like, this manages to strike that balance so beautifully because I'm so invested in what's going on but yeah, it is still entertaining. I'm still watching a Batman movie. I'm still watching Batman solve a problem ultimately. And I am doing that in The Dark Knight, but The Dark Knight is still riddled with, and it's bogged down in like the whole two boats thing grinds the film to a halt, and it's like, but it's there but to show the the tussle between the, and it's like, yeah, but you're now representing this in a way that is clunky, and it's like, I don't know. It just feels to me it's sort of demonstrative of putting the cart before the horse. In that you're kind of going, well, right, yeah, I know, I get it, and it's all there just so that Batman can go, this city just showed you, and it's like, yeah, but it's like, for whose benefit? It's really not. I don't want to sound like I'm slagging off The Dark Knight, and I did it to Tom, who I had just, in fact, it was the last time I think I watched The Dark Knight. And I watched it with my wife, and then I went off to make Fistful of Lead. And Tom, who was playing my brother in that film, ironically, his character was called Casey, which is weird. We met the first night we got there into the accommodation and stuff, and I was just chatting with him, and I kind of went like, I said, oh yeah, I sat down and watched The Dark Knight. It was like the first time I watched it in ages, and I was like, yeah, I just don't think it holds up as well. Like, I was watching, I was going, this really feels like it's aged now, and I was like, whereas I don't think Batman Begins did. I really love Batman Begins, blah, blah, blah. But I think The Dark Knight is just for blah. And I went into this thing about like why I thought it didn't work anymore. And Tom is Christopher Nolan's cousin,
bow,
and he's
bow.
and yeah, exactly, like ring, ding, 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 ding. And he's in this, and I'm really sorry, I should have pointed out, he's the one who says to him, he's the valet when he turns up in the Lamborghini, and he goes, nice car, and you should see mine. Yeah. So that's Tom, and I'm sorry, Tom, I totally didn't point that out, and I'm really sorry, but and Tom's a wonderful guy, and we called ourselves the Brothers Arsehole on that film, which I still can't remember why we were calling ourselves. We're like, we're the Brothers Asshole, and we were like, so we text each other every now and again and say, hey, brother asshole. And,
just like real brothers.
Just like real brothers do, exactly. But he's such a sweetheart, and he's in this, and he's in, like, Chris puts him in lots of his films. He's in Dunkirk and everything. And he's a really great actor and a lovely dude. But yeah, I put my foot in it, so I don't like saying. Here's my list of reasons that Christopher Nolan's a wanker by Duncan Casey,
CB1 represented by.
Yeah, no, God, no, and I guess I don't mean it like I don't think it's the fault of The Dark Knight or the filmmakers. I think it's just purely a kind of. Like, if you were going to make, I think if you look at it on the face of it, if you go, you have to make a sequel to this, and you have to up the ante, and you have to put the Joker in it, and all that sort of stuff. What else would you do? Like, I think that's fine, and I think thematically it works, and I think all the pieces, all the constituent pieces, I think are fine. And right, and the right choices to make, and I get it. I just purely put on a personal level, it doesn't speak to me as much as this does. It's not as timeless as this film is. I think this film utterly, ironically for Christopher Nolan, transcends time and is timeless.
This does the kind of, yeah. I think a lot of that is in its art design and stuff, because it has got one foot in the past. Whereas it's funny, like the Dark Knight, if you want to view it through the lens of London, which may be deeply unhelpful to those of you non-Brits, but I'm sure you have a localised analogy. But this film sort of feels like it takes place mostly in, say, like South London or Brixton, whereas The Dark Knight seems like it's all in the city, as in the city of London. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's all steel and glass. Whereas this has the kind of fire escapes and the parks and the dirt and the, you know what I mean? All that stuff. It has a boardroom stuff that we have right now, but I kind of feel a bit divorced from the city in the second one, because it's all cops and executives and kind of lawyers in big glass buildings and stuff, and you lose a lot of that character.
There's only one shot, because I remember thinking, like, it's a shame that we don't see the monorail, and there is a shot, and there's a wide of Wayne Tower early on in The Dark Knight where you can kind of see the monorail go past in the background, but that's it. And I was like, that's a shame. That's
a good example of this film's timelessness, because the monorail has become sadly, this kind of
Monorail. Monorail.
Well, the Simpsons episode is such a great example because the monorail has become this kind of standard bearer for failed utopianism and failed utopianist city planning.
As the Zeppelin. And,
well, exactly, yeah. And this uses that because it's not too out there. It's not too much of a wacky Gotham, but the kind of triple level monorail is fucking weird. Like no city has that, but it's done in a way you don't even really think about it. And furthermore, when he's a kid, it's new and it's clean. And when Gotham's decayed, every time you see it after that, it's all shit up like the New York subway.
It's the representation we get of Thomas Wayne's legacy, Thomas Wayne's idea. It all converges on Wayne Tower. There's a real point behind it. Whereas in the Dark Knight, it's kind of like a and it's and
it's this whole that's the thing, the whole wacky Gotham. I love the wacky Gotham in this, and then in the
Dark Knight Rises, it's completely gone. So wouldn't that have been a nice callback to see him use the monorail to come back into the city or to use to do something with? Like it had been decommissioned for years, but he used it. And that's another motif of rising
and it's
his
a callback
family
to his
name.
family's name and stuff. Yeah,
it's like that's another great way in which Bruce Wayne rises from the ashes, kind of thing. And it's just like, but that
no, mate climbs out of hole, innit?
Yeah, it's just kind of like
gets his back punched back in, he climbs out of hole. Yeah. Tom Conti punches his back in and he climbs out of hole.
And then he punches Tom Hardy in the face.
The can. Also, there's a TV in a cage as well. Yeah, I'm a banana. Now, Nebworth House was the
England. Like, I love the way it suddenly cuts.
Oh, so England.
Like, rolling hills.
But on this Wayne Manor and the Tim Burton one's Nebworth House. Isn't that in Hertfordshire? And I'm not sure if I've ever. Isn't this one's in Hertfordshire? I think they're both reasonably close to us. Both
because there's
Wayne's Manors.
The Wayne's Manors is because this. I believe they changed it again for the. I think the Dark Knight Rises is a different house. I think, but yeah, they're not a million miles. I think it's like Oxfordshire. Is that the thing? Or Oxford? It's Oxford Way, isn't it?
Oxfordshire is a county. Can confirm.
Yes, there you go.
Can confirm. Yeah, I'm not sure, but they're both obviously because I love that. That's like look at how fucking Englandy that is.
Yeah.
That could be upstate Gotham in whatever state Gotham's in. Yeah,
because you say it's in the Palisades, and when you see in the Dark Knight Rises, you get that panning shot of like Gotham City looking over to, and then you see Wayne Manor, and it's like that's.
Wait a minute.
That's a long way.
We'll rebuild it brick by brick, much close to the city.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, brick by brick. Yeah, brick by brick. You fucking idiot. How are we going to do that?
How are we going to shine a bat symbol when there's no clouds, Master? Shut up, Alfred! Josh72456 says Hatfield House for Batman Begins. So presumably that is tied to Hatfield in Hertfordshire.
There you go. But yeah, I love it, and I love the motif of like we rebuild it brick for brick, and it's like maybe let's reinforce the foundations in the whatever. Wing, and he's like, oh yeah, because that's the Batcave. So in other words, alluding to the fact they're going to build a Batcave, but then it's like, do they?
Well, yeah, because by the next one, they live in the city.
Yeah, because in the next, I guess it's not finished yet, but in the third one it is. But then it's like it's just the same thing, but a block comes out of the floor.
It's got Lego in it now. It's completely different.
Yeah, it's like okay, like I mean, you didn't do much, did you? Fair enough. See, this thing at the end, right? This caused so much consternation. I remember my friends walking out of this going like, but I thought the Joker killed his pig.
I've heard that so many times. Oh my God, that alone is just like, dude, how do these even line up? Just think, please think. Think a little bit. Just think a little bit for a little while. Just think a bit. Watch them both. Think a little bit. Just do a thinking. And too many people said that. And it was just like, what? No.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, but I mean, it's interesting to look at that now because you watch this film and that seems like such an odd pandering thing to do at the end, and it does feel like a studio note.
That's a lift from Batman Year One. I'm
is
confident. It? Yeah, so I think it's even the fucking playing card and stuff. As I remember, I do have it down here somewhere. I've got Long Halloween as well. But
nice.
Yeah, I think it is. But yeah, it's one of these things. It was kind of like because then like the sun, and it always is the sun, are kind of like, yeah, Cher's going to be Catwoman and Eddie Murphy's going to be the Riddler, and it's just like, where did you even get that? Like, don't at least try. At least
a source close to production says.
Oh my God,
it's always
like
that.
Russell Brand's going to be the Joker. No, he isn't. No.
Well, that's the other thing as well. Is like there's yeah, and then there's always the sort of sorry Simon, but football dickheads who repeat that stuff, and it's like I you know, like the problem is, especially now with the way media works online, it's like all that has to happen is one dickhead source says it, and then the rest of them get to quote that as a source.
Quote the source, yeah.
And it's just like, that's not. I mean, but then I just sort of go, you know, and I, you know, I used to get fed up with people going to me, "You're an actor. What do you think of the fact that Johnny Depp's the Riddler, or that whoever's, you know, Idris Elba's going to be James Bond?" And it's like, it doesn't work like that. That hasn't happened. You saw a thing in your Facebook feed, didn't read it or think about it, and went fact. And it's just like,
it's the ones, but some of them are so, because genuinely I remember talking about, like, they would talk about Cher being Catwoman, and it's like, she's like 70. Like, what are you talking about? Like, what? Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, well, in the next movie Batman's going to be played by Mary Berry or whatever, and it's just like, that's a TV cook. Like, not like, no one ever actually said that, but there was always be something in the, and it's always the Sun, like, or the Star, have some completely absurdist thing, and it's just like, what is wrong with, I want to say, why are you even printing that, but it's a combination of cocaine and the need for cocaine, I imagine.
Okay.
I'm not casting aspersions on Fleet Street, but I am, because they're awful cunts. Don't worry, no one's ever been sued by a newspaper.
I did my work experience at the was it the Star? Yeah, it was the Star. Back in the day. Back in 1999 or whenever it was.
My work experience in Thomas Cook.
Loser. I interviewed Jessica Simpson, I'll have you know, and got to decide that week's Buy It or Bin It singles. And guess what? I said buy it to Matchbox 20 and bin it to Coldplay. So
guess which one of us went to a state school?
Needles to say, I didn't have the last laugh. But no. Look, I didn't get that through my connections at school. I actually got my uncle worked at the Telegraph, and that's not a. He was.
You're not helping yourself right
now. No, it wasn't a privilege. He fair play to him. He got in at the ground level and worked his way up, and that was that. He just happened to be there at the time. He's not there anymore, but you know, and he's now, he has a dog walking business, so make of that what you will. But he jumped ship from the Telegraph to get on board with that new trendy going somewhere company, AOL.
Good.
Which sort of didn't really work out, but there we are.
Just last time, Warner.
Just last time.
Well, you know.
But fair enough. And but bless him, he got me in for a week at the Star, which was wonderful. And I am forever grateful to him. So I am 100%. You know. But yeah. Chris Thomason says Matchbox 20 is 100% better than Coldplay. Agreed. But that's why I said it. I stand behind
mate. It could have been. You know. I mean, that could have been what's better. Hitler reading Game of Thrones or Coldplay. I'd say Hitler reading Game of, you know what I mean? Not casting aspersions on Matchbox 20, who, by the way, fucking owe you one by the sound of it.
Yeah, man. That Rob Thomas, bring it on. Give me some of that sweet Santana money. But no, I stand by by what I said, and I also I actually came up with a headline for one of the newspapers. Nell Macpherson had augmentation, and they were struggling to come up with a headline for it, and I suggested Nell Raiser, which they went with. So I was quite. I know. A 16-year-old.
I worked in Thomas Cook in the fucking
16-year-old came up with the headline for the fucking. So
I skived off work experience to go see the Phantom Menace, and then we were on the evening news that night, and nobody found out. It was the crime of the century. That's my work experience story.
There was a bomb scare on the so because I worked from like a Wednesday to a Wednesday, which is a bit weird, but there was a bomb scare on the Friday evening. So me and my uncle, we all got bundled out early, and this is so London. We all got bundled out of our offices and got marched down the street by all the police, and everyone just went into the nearest pub And there were police
Right.
literally coming in going, if that bomb goes off, there's going to be bits of you. He's got to get back behind the bridge. And everyone was like, nah.
Jaded by bomb threats.
This is pre 9/11 though, so you have to sort of take.
Yeah, but dude, the days of there were so many bomb threats in London.
Yeah, no one took it seriously. I guess it was very pre IRA, but nearly 9/11.
Well, post IRA, really.
That's what I mean. Sorry, I beg your pardon. I meant not pre, very post.
I've got to read Omar's super chat, and then we'll talk more about bomb threats. Wallerton Hall, Nottingham, is where I live, is where Wayne Manor is, and The Dark Knight Rises. Good night, guys. Good night, Omar. Thank you for that, clearing that up. So multiple Wayne's Manors in this series. I was evacuated from the Science Museum in London when I was 6 on a field trip owing to a different bomb threat. So,
there you go.
Not just me, it was a whole class of us. It was get that child out. It's a bomb. No, it was the whole.
Bearing in mind, it can be a security guard was picking his nose, turned around and saw a backpack and was like, fuck. And I didn't see whose that was. Quick.
But in those
bomb
days,
threat.
man, people used to phone up and say, there's a fucking bomb in there. It used to happen quite a lot. So,
Yeah. But it was cool. I was very fortunate, and had a good time.
Not blown
I met. So there was a page 3 model who came in as well she did an interview, and I had to be I had to dance with her.
Augmentation talk. Oh well, breast talk. Basically.
Well, it was the star, mate. I mean, what are you going to do? But then she came in and we did a thing, and she is in. So she's in The World Is Not Enough, and she was one of Valentin Zukovsky's girls when James Bond crashes his party and comes in, and then he's got he's Nina and Verushka, and she's one of them. And she was lovely, and we had a good time. And I don't have a number.
Weirdly, she wasn't into a 15-year-old boy at the time.
No, she wasn't.
She wasn't a paedophile.
Indeed.
But I'm sure you were very charming, regardless.
Well, not really. But no, it was good, mate. It was good times, and
people want to know what Jessica Simpson is like.
Lovely, sweetheart. Yeah, we did. It was over the phone, it wasn't in person, but she was really cool, and I was freaking out, man. That was when so bless him, my uncle got me, my uncle Alistair got me a he got it on, but it was really organised. So I had 2 days on one desk, and then I had 2 days in another, and 2 days in another, and one of them was in the section. It's that middle section where it's the kind of entertainment section. So it was more the kind of Hollywood gossip
center pages type thing.
And it was just me and this guy, right? The guy who, and I won't, I don't want to be mean, but he was basically he looked exactly like the kind of guy you would expect to run that kind of section.
Look, I haven't met this guy, but you're talking about the celebrity gossip section in a red top tabloid.
Think Ron Jeremy, and you won't be.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking. Well, no, I don't want to do a discredit to Ron Jeremy. I'm thinking Scum. This is I'm just thinking that he might have been nice. I'm just saying.
He was a thoroughly decent, lovely person, but yes, he did, and all credit to him. He was great with me. He's who I did the buy it and bin it thing, Matchbox 20, Coldplay. So. Dude, I had nothing but nice things to say, and everyone there was awesome. I had nothing but nice things to say about those people. But he, I remember, he was like, "Do you want to do an interview with Jessica Simpson?" I thought she was a politician because I didn't know what the fuck.
Oh, amazing!
And I was like, "Why are we doing who?" And then he was like, "Jessica Simpson, you know Jessica Simpson?" I was like, "No." And no.
1999 as an English boy, why would you?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I guess she was an up and comer then.
In a few short years, she'll be in the Dukes of Hazzard remake. Fine.
And anyway, but I was still obviously incredibly nervous, and because that's right, because I think it was obviously an era where you could Google things or ask Jeeves things.
Wow,
but so I think I Googled who the hell, or he showed me pictures of who she was through Reuters or whatever, and I was like, oh, and then I was like, hello, and he was going but he did say things like ask her how big her tits are and stuff, and
amazing.
I was like, it's not great quality journalism. I was like, what do you think about trees?
Oh, she's had an abortion. Yeah, sounds like a on the level guy. 15-year-old boy working for the Star. Have you tried cocaine, son? You want to?
come on in, sit down. You know, mate, get on with it.
Take you to the titty bar, like fucking.
Can I have a coffee, please?
This is amazing because I purely associate work experience with being the most boring, dreary, and one of the things that fucks me off about work experience is another thing that fucks me off in year 11 was like I was being sent out for work experience when I had a job. That's the worst part. And then like when I was 6,
I'm doing, but for free.
Yeah, and when I was in year 11, I did something wrong and I got a detention, right? And what happened was I got like a compound detention because I kept not going. And I got so many detentions they were going to suspend me because I think I had like 14 or 15 detentions on file that I hadn't gone to. And the reason was because detention was on Friday evening. And they pulled me in, so it's completely derailed, pulled me in to the head teacher's office. The head teacher knew me very well. Mr. Jackson this, whatever. So I was on report to him as well for my year 11. And he says to me, if you don't do what you're told and come to us when we tell you, you're not going to learn any responsibility and you're never going to get a job. And I said, sir, the reason I don't come to detention is because every Friday night I've got some responsibility and I have to go to my job. And if I go to these detentions, I'm going to lose my job. And they dropped it because it was that close to the end of year 11 and they knew they were getting rid of me. So I
remember doing something similar with that. I had an English teacher who was very... this is a needles to say I had the last laugh. So anyway, sorry, just to preface, so the school I went, I did go to a public school, but I did it I had to get I got an assisted place, which is like a scholarship. But it was at the time it was a government funded thing, which was dropped actually the year I started. Anyway, but I didn't go there because my family had money. I went there because I earned it. I earned the place. But most of the people who went there did their work experience in like the tuck shop or shops. I just was very, very lucky that my uncle had a really cool job, and bless him, he pulled strings and got me in as like a internship essentially for a week. So my Uncle Alison, if you're in the chat, I don't know if you are, my cousin Tom is his
he's Tom's
son. He's Tom's dad. He pulled the strings for me, man, and he was, bless his heart, like and it was so sweet because he took me under his wing, but in a really nice, he was just like, there you go to your job. That's it, in like next to Tower Bridge, and or not Tower, sorry, Blackfriars or whatever.
When did you stay? I assume he lived in London. Did you stay with him?
He didn't. They lived. I commuted with him from. They were living at the time. Where were they living? I can't remember now. Kent? No, not Kent. South of London, and so.
Sorry.
But
Sorry.
Yeah, I can't remember, but I commuted with him every day, which was cool. And I remember that, it was good. It was, it was good times, and I'm very, very blessed. And all credit to my uncle for doing that for me. So it wasn't, like I say, it wasn't a product of what school I went to, because most of the people at my school didn't get that opportunity either, even though they had, some of them obviously probably went into their parents' law firm and worked on worked at the reception. No, I'm not. I'm not making a case for anything. I'm just saying that was the context of what was going on. It's like, it wasn't like everyone got crazy opportunities for work experience just because they were at that school. Some didn't, some did. It's just the way it was. And it wasn't because of my station in life. It was just purely, I was lucky. What can I say? Call it privilege, call it what you want.
Thomas was gash. I just had to stack brochures. It was so rubbish. They tried to send me to a random lawyer's office, and I called them up, and they were just like, "No, we're not having a work. No, we're not doing that."
And that's the thing, isn't it? It's like work experience. Like, is it?
But when you've got a job, when you have a job, that's very galling.
Exactly. No, I massively agree with you on that. I think that's. But I was telling you about my English teacher. My English teacher was one of these. He was dyed in the wool Oxford whatever, and I used to show a lot of promise with English literature, but I was incredibly delinquent. So I would not do my homework, not be asked. But in class, I would pick out, I'd be very good at understanding subtext and being able to, pick apart Shakespeare and get it all. So he used to be really annoyed with me. And I remember him constantly saying, you're not going to get into Oxbridge with that. If you want to go to Oxbridge, blah, 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 blah. And eventually I turned around to him and said, "So you went to Oxford, right?" And he went, yes. And I went, and you, how long have you taught here for? And he went, like 30 years. And I went, right. So if going to Oxford means I teach here for 30 years,
Oh God!
I'm good. Like, I was like, I don't care. And I mean,
Oh my
probably
God!
a
I
dick
can't
move,
imagine
really.
that sat well. No.
He didn't. I mean, this is smug Duncan irony. When there was so that my school did it was called the Lee's Fortnightly, but it wasn't fortnightly. But it was like a magazine they did. I think at the end of each term, the students had a little thing. Where we wrote a magazine about what happened that term or something, and it. But he retired the year I left, and I used to do sketches of teachers in my home. But this is how little. I did caricatures of teachers, and they were like, "Can you do one of him? Because we want that because we're saying goodbye to him." And I was like, "Yeah." And I did this like really, really piss takey caricature because he used to do this thing where he'd put his leg up on the fucking chair, and he used to do this with his hands all the time, which in hindsight is quite pedo like. Anyway.
Oh my God! Don't lay it on thicker. What's wrong with you?
Okay.
It's a bit pedo-y, isn't it? Probably a racist. I'm not sure.
And so I did that, and it ended up, and that was his like eulogy, effectively, for his career as a teacher. And it was just like, oh my God, like I somewhere out there, I'm sure he sat there with a voodoo doll of me, just stabbing it and stabbing it in vain hope I will just drop dead.
Watches the stream every week. So well.
I mean, I highly doubt it. Look, I gave him shit at school, but he did teach me a lot, and he was a great. He was a scholar of literature, and so I think I rubbed up against him like that because I'm quite a practical person at the end of the day, and I love subtext and all, but it has to kind of go somewhere. I'm not someone who's sort of like, well, of course, blah blah blah, and it's like, yes, but unless that's doing something for something, unless that's sort of serving a point in a plot or unless that's evoking something in an audience, which it might be, but it's like, for me, a lot of the time I was like, eh. Kind of belligerent. I don't know. I wasn't one for academia for academia's sake, and I think that's what he didn't land well. Anyway,
well, to compare and contrast, in my school, there was a game called Sweaty Whorehouse that was invented by a boy called Johnny, and it was Johnny's play to make the girls take their jumpers off in the hot months. So what he would do was he'd turn the radiators all the way to the top and then break the radiator knob off so the rooms are really hot. And after the epidemic of Sweaty Whorehouse, there was a witch hunt to find Johnny, and we all knew who it was. And it kind of spreads, other people did it as well. So it's actually vandalised the radiators. And one of the detentions that I did, I did do my time in the pen. And one of the ones I got apprehended and put on lockdown. I had to litter pick him. And I just went I just picking litter out of the bush mindlessly. And I put the litter picker in. I felt something heavy. I pulled it out, and it was a bin bag, like this rattly bin bag. And I opened it, and it was just full of radiator knobs. And I just looked around and just put it back. And it's like, nah, I don't need that heat in my life.
I was away
from it's like finding Jimmy Hoffa in concrete boots. It was all the purloined radiator knobs that apparently he'd collected and slung in a bush.
That's the mad thing. It's like, well, why wouldn't you just leave it there? Like,
the
removing
Riddler, his trail of evidence behind him. I think he wants to get caught.
It's trophies. He's collecting trophies from his crime.
Right. Where's the David Fincher film of this with Mark Ruffalo unraveling the mystery of the Sweaty Whorehouse?
Well, I don't think we've really resolved who had the better schooling experience.
Unclear myself.
Unclear. Yeah. But I was I enjoyed my time. I did, actually, in the long run, and I was very fortunate. I managed to get in somewhere that was, I guess, above my station in a lot of ways. But for 5 years, I mean, it's not like I was there my whole time. I went to state schools before that. There you go. So who cares? Who gives a shit?
From in between us.
It was fucking ages ago, anyway. I mean, whatever. And then I went to university at the UEA in Norwich, where the Avengers are from, apparently.
And Alan Partridge, never forget.
Yes, of course. Yes. No, but I mean, the Avengers are literally from UEA
Yes,
because
their base is is it the Sainsbury building?
Sainsbury's Centre. Yeah,
Sainsbury's Centre.
yeah.
Cool building.
It's only because it has that. So it's got that big sort of hangar-looking front, and then it's got that glass bit into the because it goes subterranean.
And is it surrounded by trees? Because in the Avengers movies, they make it look like it's surrounded by trees. I think.
No, there is a lake. There's a lake right next to it, and which they don't show, which I'm sort of surprised about. There's a walkway bridge that goes all the way out from the campus into the second floor or first floor. It's quite cool. It's like one person can walk down it in a row, but you can walk all the way from the campus to it, and you walk in there, and it's like I loved it. I mean, it was a really cool building. It's a really fascinating. I have no idea why it's been built there, but it's a really fascinating building inside. It's got like a canteen and stuff in there, and then you can go down into the bit where the bit that Tony Stark and I think Thor and someone walk out of, where it's like a big glass thing that opens up.
Yeah, I remember.
That's the frontage. So basically, like, you've got the main big building, but you go down and it goes subterranean, and that's where they keep a lot of the artwork, and it's in like hanging things, and you can walk through it. But it's then got a sort of glass facade that sort of sits under the. It's really cool. Like, it's like you've got the kind of the ground comes out like that, and then you've got the kind of glass panels that like windows that go across like that, and they walk out of that. But I don't know if they open. I don't know if they actually just took one of those out and then put a door in or something. But
so much fuckery with CGI as well. It's invisible.
Yeah,
you can't tell. Like, you just can't tell the stuff they do.
Oh yeah. But no, there you go. Anyway,
I'm going to request a wrap up because I've got a big day tomorrow. So and I found out it's commencing an hour earlier than I just had a text from my mum telling me I don't work for my mum. Maybe I should. So yeah, if it pleases the court, we'll wrap up nice and tidy for 11 o'clock,
cool.
which is lovely. That pleases me. So a couple of minutes, I guess. It has got cold in here now. I've reached my limit. I'm still sat in shorts and a Hawaiian shirt, but.
I suppose there aren't ice crystals.
I genuinely had to take my trainers and socks off. I was really, really hot. And it's kind of cooler now. I had the window open for a little while. I've had the window open at night a few times this week as well, just to get some air in. It's fucking boiling, man. It's so hot all the time. I don't know why. Fair
enough.
Yeah.
Well, I think we kind of smashed the granny out of Batman Begins, didn't we? I thought that
was good. I thought that was good going, man. I thought we did some good Batman talk. No indication of what we'll do next week yet. But so I'm working next Thursday, as I told you. I'm off filming. I'm filming at Cambridge University next week.
Nice,
it's exciting. Gonville and Keys. I was there the other week doing a coverage of their new kitchen refurbishment. I'm sure you're thoroughly excited. I'm going to be doing some over-the-shoulder B-roll type stuff next week. How exciting! So yeah, we'll talk about what we're going to do about that, I guess, because I will be absent. I'm filming a dinner service, so I shan't be here. So we'll have to have a think.
Yeah, well, maybe I can do a impromptu, boring, dry.
Or we do another night or something.
Q&A. Or we do another night. Yeah.
I don't know. Other evenings are free. It's just that one you see.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna wrap up if that's all the same.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you all, darlings. It's been lovely to see you all as usual. We'll try and get some more content up on Patreon soon. I will probably do some kind of coverage of Resident Evil 8, which I've now completed. I bought on launch day. I finished it. I'm playing second playthrough. I enjoyed it. There's a lot of you have been asking me that and various things. I did enjoy it. It was fun. And I'll do some kind of coverage of it in some form soon. Probably Ivan will probably want to do a Let's Play with me or something, so we'll do that. We need to finish 7 first, much like my Alien Isolation Let's Play that's gone on for 1,000,000 billion years. Oh, look, mate, it's good content. You know, people tune in.
Whatever.
Frustratedly tune in.
Very quickly, so Rob Myers says, "How's the short?" Rob will be in touch shortly.
Very shortly. Development's there today, Rob. So
yeah.
Jazz. Let's be mysterious and leave it at that. All right, we're going to credits. We love you. We'll see you soon.
We do. Thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate it.
Bye.